For more information about the show or our network, please visit www.podcastdetroit.com.
Supercard of Honor. Commentators at war. An elimination chamber has been decided with all of its participants, while another elimination chamber has not. Jason Jordan, did he get a surgery? Was that injury a shoot? And who is the most overrated wrestler of all time? Who is the most underrated wrestler of all time? We are going to get all into this tonight as we... You just made the list!
Kiss the ring.
I'm the best in the world.
What? Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready? Finally!
You are listening to the most inappropriate pro wrestling podcast of all time. You are listening to Breaking Down the Ring. We are your ring crew.
The Smitey's back.
Orlando.
And me, the almighty one, Mikey. Joe is out this week as basically his newborn child kicked him in the balls and has taken him out for at least a 6-day period. We wish him the best in his speedy recovery and hope to see him back next week. And you guys hope to hear him back next week. But today, we have a special guest. We have a guy that I have known for a couple years. He's a huge wrestling fan. If you like country music, that's your fault, not ours. But you can listen to him on if you live in Port Huron, Michigan, on the sultry sounds of WSAQ, Port Huron's country station. We are welcoming the power hand himself, Big Dick Nick.
Hey, suck on that.
Mine's probably still bigger.
No, it's the stereotype. It's not true.
Have you seen them?
Yep. Someone has shown me the microscopic images. So, yeah.
Damn, Nick. Sorry, man.
Took a while to load.
It was a straight up modem shot.
It's like 90s porn.
No,
It's coming. Just wait for it.
Faster modem.
It's worth it.
That's what I said too.
Nick, this is why we're the most inappropriate podcast.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it.
So we got a couple things to get into. Obviously, for the intro, we're going to be talking a little bit of Supercard of Honor, a little bit of the war of words between commentators, former and current. We're going to talk a little bit about Raw, a little bit about SmackDown, but mostly we're going to be discussing the most overrated wrestler and the most underrated wrestler of all time, or in our opinion. So it's not like, don't just have to be current. It could be old school ones, new school ones, however you want to do it. But let's get into the war of the words first. Corey Graves and Booker T. Booker T is no longer a commentator on Monday Night Raw, and yet he can't stop talking about it. He went on to his afternoon radio show, and he made a comment on it. If you haven't heard, basically WWE brought back Jonathan Coachman to be a commentator on Monday Night Raw. Booker T was always said to be temporary part. Thanks, Smitty. A temporary part of the commentary team. And now his commentary is done. And they brought in Jonathan Coachman. So he went on to he went on to his radio show and he said this, and I quote, if I got Corey Graves into a fisticuffs, I would beat him down like he stole something. I would be whooping his ass all day long. My thing is this: I'm a nice guy until you get on my bad side. Corey Graves, I wouldn't necessarily say he's on my bad side. Pause. but he wants to kick his ass.
Yeah, it gets better.
Right. Oh, I know. But he's not on my bad side, but I would beat his ass. Continuing what Booker T said. He's not on my bad side right now, but he's the reason I'm not on Monday Night Raw right now. A lot of people in the company thought I was going to jump on him. I was going to do something bad to him. I was going to drag him. I was going to take him out of the woodshed. I was going to beat that man so bad that he was going to say, please, please don't beat me anymore. That's how that's how hot I was getting. That's how close I was getting. And this is all coming off of WrestlingInc.com. According to Booker, WWE wanted him to cool off and did that by moving him back to the kickoff panels and away from Graves. Again, quoting Booker T. So they said, hey, Book, step back a second, all right? We're going to regroup. Press the rewind button. We're going to send you back to the kickoff show, SmackDown and Monday Night Raw PPVs, and cool you down for a second because we don't want you to do anything to Corey Graves.
Thank God.
And he goes, if I catch Corey Graves on the street, I'm going to do something to him. I ain't going to do it at the office or the airport, but if I catch Corey Graves on the street, see that little bouffant hairdo he got? I'm going to rearrange it for him. He goes, everyone knows my reputation. I get mean if you mess with my green. And right now, my green is being messed with. Is WrestleMania coming up? He goes, is WrestleMania coming up, right? There's room for one more match at WrestleMania. Well, right now on my show, I'm calling Corey Graves out to a fight. Not a match, not a pre-show pose down or anything like that. I'm calling Corey Graves out to a fight. I'm talking man-to-man, mano-a-mano, you and I. This all came off around the 4th of February. It is the 7th of February. So this is all before Monday Night Raw and SmackDown happened. Of course, Corey Graves took a shot at him.
Go ahead.
You there? Remember that uncrustable comment?
You're good. You go ahead.
So Corey Graves
smoking, nigga.
Corey
the chair's
Graves
funky, so I got to adjust.
said on Monday Night Raw, there was some comment made, and then he goes, "Be careful. You don't want to get sent back to doing afternoon radio and blame me for everything."
That was during the Bailey Oscar match.
And he also put it on Twitter. He said, quote, "Thus the expert in battle moves the enemy and is not moved by him. Sun Tzu." He quoted Art of War and then in parentheses wrote, "Yes, this is what you think it is." They are fucking beefing, man.
Also, there was
Corey
also
Graves, he coming for you.
Okay, so the New Day also made a comment on SmackDown about that too.
What'd they say?
So, do you think Corey Graves has a better left hook or right?
Oh,
or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
when they were doing
also
the Ask the New Day?
yeah. That was also kind of a jab too. So the New Day,
Jab or a right hook?
jab or right hook, yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Since everyone's having so much fun with it, do you think it's a work?
I don't know.
I think I think it's a shoot, honestly.
I mean, because on the actual panel, like you could feel Booker T getting mad at Graves.
Oh, yeah.
at times.
Just like the one guy that was called him G.I. Bro.
But it was more so like Graves would come back with the zinger and he would like kind of stifle fucking Booker T, so Booker T would get mad.
Because he's not fast with the comebacks.
Well, right. So that's not Graves' fault that you're not a witty fuck,
Right.
Like, who cares?
Well, that was proven when he had his whole war of words with The Rock. He wasn't really witty with his comebacks.
Right. Thomas Jefferson, sucker.
Listen, Booker T is entertaining as fuck.
He's entertaining, but he's not quick on the whip.
And as a commentator, I think Booker T is okay. I think, sometimes he says some weird ducky this or something. He'll say some weird shit.
Ducky, quack, quack.
Yeah, he'll say some weird shit.
Everybody's in his Fave 5.
But he's okay. But Corey Graves is I think is a really, really good announcer.
Graves the
Commentator.
greatest thing to happen for color commentary since Jerry Lawler in the 90s.
Yeah, I really, really like Corey Graves' commentary.
Mm-hmm.
So Graves is a much better commentator than Booker T, even though Booker T's kind of legacy is far greater than Graves.
Wrestling, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
In the industry in general.
I don't know, man. I would kind of want to see Booker T beat him up, though, just for the hell of it.
Hey, y'all gotta forget, Booker T's a nigga from Houston. That's a hood. There's a hood in Houston out there in Texas. I've been to Houston twice.
There's a hood in every major
Right,
city.
yeah, I was going to say,
yeah,
dude,
that's-
we're hanging out outside Detroit right now. Come on now.
I'm from Detroit.
And you ain't kicking nobody's ass. So what you
Hey, we go outside the back alley. We'll figure this out.
You say you want to bang him in the
you know
back alley?
Smitty, your mom was going to call in and whip your ass.
Hey, Speaking of that, me and my mama already talked about this shit. It's all good. She not listening no more.
And we'll do a parody of it.
Yeah, let's do it. So Nick, what do you think about all this stuff?
You know what? I think that Booker T, like you had mentioned, he is entertaining, but as far as his mic skills on the spot as a color commentator, he's pretty god awful because he contradicts himself all the time.
Yeah.
And the shit that comes out of his mouth, it just like sometimes I listen to him like, what the fuck did he just say? Like, let me rewind that. Let me make sure that he said that. It just, I don't not like Booker T, but I think that his time in the sun had passed. Get off the color commentator. Go back to the pre-show. I mean,
We say African American, not colored here. There's
Did I say that?
There's even lines we won't cross.
African American commentator.
Yeah.
Hey, what about Byron Saxton?
Michael Cole's the play-by-play.
I really had to think about that.
Michael Cole's the play-by-play. Booker T was the African American commentator.
I think Corey Graves is the more, like you said, African American commentator at this point.
It's funny to me with these two guys going back and forth. Like, we all said it ourselves. Like, we've had our levels of commentaries. Like, JBL was the drizzling shits. JBL finally started getting better before he left, but for a while there, JBL was the worst thing to happen to color commentary, period, in a long time. He was
Since
bad.
Michael Cole tried to go color.
Well, again,
African American.
calm down here, sir. He's white. Michael Cole never went blackface, not one time.
Hey, fuck that. All white people turn more colors than we do.
So it was JBL. We all had problems with Booker T. David Otunga was pretty bad too.
Yep.
Byron Saxton just plays the goody two shoes boy, and that's his gimmick. Period.
He's early Michael Cole, where he got picked on. He gets picked on by everybody else.
But at the same time, he's like the running joke is he still lives with his parents. Like it's he's the goody two shoes boy. And from every report I've ever heard, Byron Saxton is probably the nicest man in professional wrestling. Next to this dude that we know, that we've had on our show, formerly known as Hakeem Zayn, because apparently he's also a really, really
Yes, he is.
nice guy. And that's always a great thing to have. So obviously, because if you're the nice guy, people are going to pick on you, and give it to him. Byron Saxton has his comebacks. He gets Corey right back sometimes. Coach was doing better this week. Obviously, the first week last week was rough. It was the first time that they were there, so it's kind of like
It's kind of like it was like kind of sit and observe, and then this week he
and it
got
still
more
was kind of
involved.
because even Coach got called out by Michael Cole, like when he was like, yeah, Sonya Deville, she's a huge Iverson fan, and then Michael Cole's like, yeah, we said that at the Royal Rumble when we were in Philly, and Coach was just like, well, it's good to reiterate stuff, like.
But he was also quick on his little comebacks.
And he also wasn't there at Royal Rumble, so there's still going to be some time to get in it. However, Booker T's still worse, man. Like, Booker T would, especially first commentary run Booker T, man, that was god
With him
awful.
and JBL on SmackDown?
Yeah, it was really bad. And then now, this time, at least he had a more no shits given type feel to it, because he would go at it, and there'd be times that he had points to say, but like Nick said, then all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, he contradicted himself. Dude, I don't know how many times I've heard him say he hated and liked Jason Jordan in the same fucking match.
Same thing with Strowman.
It's
If he put over Strowman's wind one more goddamn time.
yeah, it got pretty bad with Book. So I mean, I'm okay that he's gone. Is anyone missing Booker?
No.
Not in that capacity, no.
No.
I wouldn't be mad if he wasn't on the pre-shows either.
I would be mad if he wasn't on the pre-shows. at
He's
least.
good on the pre-shows though, because he just
He's
talks. All
limited.
he's doing is putting over the stuff. He doesn't have to keep up with it with Vince and Kevin Dunn and Triple H and everybody in his ear. I just feel like it got a little bit too much for him.
Yeah,
at
he was
times.
overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah, and you could easily tell that. I'm worried Corey Graves is going to wear himself out with this.
Does that mean Corey's going to get these hands?
It's everyone's going to get these hands. Up next, let's talk about it. It was a huge video that broke the internet for a little bit. The most recent episode of Being the Elite Complicated ended really awkwardly. Like Marty Skrull just started singing Avril Lavigne's Complicated.
It was hilarious.
And wonderfully throughout the the episode. And, everybody's doing little things. As we had mentioned before, the video previous was when there was the drama in the Bullet Club where Cody gave the crossroads to Kenny Omega in the middle of the ring. And then they were all going to go at him and Hangman, and then Ibushi saves him. And then in the Being the Elite video, they show up at the Young Bucks hotel room, Ibushi and Kenny Omega. They show up at the hotel room to go in. This one kind of made it seem like no one knew where they were going to go. Like there was a segment with Matt Jackson, him and his wife talking, and on one angle he's wearing a Kenny Omega shirt, and the other angle he's wearing an American Nightmare Cody shirt. So it just, whatever cut they were showing was the shirt that he had. So obviously they were playing no favorites to anybody. And then at the end of it came this huge announcement that at Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor 12, you're going to get Kenny Omega versus Cody at that pay-per-view. That pay-per-view is, sorry, something just flew on. It's April 7th, which is the day before WrestleMania in the same area. So if you're in New Orleans for WrestleMania, I don't know. Because you got the NXT, you got TakeOver the day before that.
It's
TakeOver.
Friday, it's Supercard Friday, TakeOver Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday.
No, because WrestleMania is the 8th, right? If I'm not mistaken, WrestleMania is April 8th.
I thought Supercard was on Friday.
Supercard of Honor is announced for April 7th.
Oh, so
Yeah, I was going to say,
Saturday,
I think it's the same day as
April 7th,
NXT. Because I was down there in
Yeah.
Orlando. I was backstage at the Supercard last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's.
And that's where we got those really cool Ring of Honor crew shirts.
I
Ring
know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually wearing I'm saving mine to wear on the show the week of WrestleMania.
Cool.
It wasn't a random. It was a statement.
So yeah, like if you
He didn't click it.
if you can't get into TakeOver, you can go to Supercard of Honor because they're fighting on that day. It's weird, and normally there's no going back and forth. But I don't know. I guess maybe they didn't get the attendance they wanted last year on Friday because of the Hall of Fame. I don't know how they're doing it, why they're doing it. Maybe they're doing it on purpose. We're going to put this right up against your NXT TakeOver. So I don't know. We shall see.
They
but
could be.
yes,
That's a huge match,
right?
But also those numbers are probably going to be close to each other too, because NXT is pretty much like WWE's equivalent of a major indie promotion like ROH or
Oh yeah, 100%.
like that.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Fully agree. So Omega Cody, are we thinking that this is going to have some major implications into, be it the All In pay-per-view that's supposedly coming up in September, that Cody and the entire Bullet Club are supposedly putting on? Because Omega said he's going to be there. Cody's going to be there. The Bucks, Skrull, Hangman are going to be there. They announced, I think Tessa Blanchard has announced that she will be there as well. Are we thinking that this is going to have some implications into that, Smitty?
I think it's just something to keep us holders over and put some distinction between the Bullet Club, because we know they're hottest. There's got to be something to keep the Bullet Club relevant within professional wrestling. So this is going to be something that like keeps us invested within the Bullet Club storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think the Bullet Club is ending or being split into two factions like the NWO after this? No, because splitting the NWO was one of the things that kind of killed it. So this is a whole come over story for a long run.
Omega gave comments about Golden Lovers, which is what him and Ibushi were known as, post the crossroads that he got and Ibushi saving him, and after the last, and after the Being Elite where they showed up at the end at the Bucks hotel room. And he said that he's always wished that they could do more, and that now is a time for, they seem to be coming back together. So it's very, I mean, it may not be split into two factions, but Omega might be leaving.
I think some of that is because like Adam Page was really involved inside the whole segment too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's leading to Supercard of Honor. You're going to see Adam Page versus Kota Ibushi.
That's possible. Yeah. Z?
Yeah, I think it is going to split into two different factions, and that's, I mean, why you're having Kenny versus Cody, and I think Cody's going to go over. He'll run the Bullet Club, and then they'll be like the Elite or whatever name they come up with.
More than likely the Elite if they say.
But yeah,
So
the Elite
definitely Wolfpack like original NWO Wolfpack style kind of shit. And I was reading a blog the other day, and it was about how ever since its first inception, like with the Bullet Club, like the way they kick their leaders out and everything, it's become very I can't say the word, like the formulaic.
Yeah.
Because they did it with Finn and then AJ and and then Adam Cole and now Kenny. Same thing, same time of year. Like it's to the point where people are discussing whether or not like the Bullet Club is still as over as they were. Like, yeah, their merch probably still sells because, I mean, let's be honest, the t-shirts look sweet. Like, even people that don't follow wrestling go on a Hot Topic and probably buy one.
Just because of how they look.
Well, even people like gun enthusiasts. I want to be part of the Bullet Club.
Right.
Why not? So, I mean, I don't think that, just like NWO merch still sells. But I could see if this was like the downfall of the Bullet Club. And I think that's why WWE is jumping all over the whole Ballard Club thing. Like as Bullet Club's on the descent, we're gonna make the Ballard Club we're gonna ascend it. So,
but to your point though, every time a leader was kicked out of the Bullet Club, they all moved on to somewhere else.
I understand that, but I'm saying it's become a thing. This time of year, somebody gets kicked out of the Bullet Club.
But also, Kenny Omega's already made it. He's already made it clear that. He just re-signed with New Japan. He just re-signed another 2-year deal with New Japan.
If Kenny leaves Bullet Club, he's the first person to leave Bullet Club and not go to WWE. So that's something different too.
Well, Finn was still.
He is the first person to get kicked out of the Bullet Club and not come to WWE.
Virgil Devitt was still with New Japan for a year before he went to WWE.
Even after they moved him from Bullet Club?
For AJ.
Huh. I do know. Well, you never know, man. It'd be a crazy world we're living in I just don't see that. Okay, so let's say the faction does split. Okay, let's say it does a Wolfpack NWO type thing.
Hollywood.
It's better for merch if they keep Bullet Club active while they create and push the Elite more, I think.
So because Elite merchandise is also in Hot Topic.
I know. But it's not as over as the Bullet Club stuff. So if they can make them compete, now you're competing, but they're both profiting from the same fucking thing.
Yeah, so just like when 50 Cent made G-Unit and G-Unit, he was still profiting from both things. People that loved him and people that hated him. So now you got two different things, and it's putting money in.
I don't even know what the fuck G-Unit is.
You remember that shit?
I do.
No, glad I don't. So Orlando, let me ask you then: if they do this split, do you see Omega, Ibushi, and the Young Bucks separate going into the Elite because of the whole being the Elite possible?
I don't think Ibushi will have anything to do with it. I think he's just, like they said, somebody had mentioned earlier, I think he was just in this angle just to set up the match between him and Cole, probably.
Page,
excuse me. And then, so I don't think he'll have anything to do with it. But I do think the Young Bucks and whoever else will become the Elite, I think they're going to get away from Bullet Club. I think that's what you're going to see.
Have I ever told you guys how much I hate the Adam Page Hangman character?
Why?
Look at me.
Really? Even I know that.
Did you like Gallows when he was in Bullet Club?
No.
Because he walked around with a noose on his neck?
Yeah.
To make you uncomfortable?
Yes, it does.
One of the few things in the world we finally found that makes Smitty uncomfortable is a noose.
Every time I like racist jokes.
Putting that in my punishment bank.
Right? but it's really funny because you love hanging out. Strange.
Remind me to kick you with a fucking dick sometime.
It hangs low, so
I'm pretty sure it's right there, boy, towards your big gut somewhere.
I don't know. I call it the Benoit. Wait, it just hangs there.
Man, did I pick the right night to come on the show.
I thought it was called the Hornswoggle because it's pretty short.
Would you just call my dick pretty? Yeah, no. You did. Idiot.
Goddamn Cena, spinner, fucktard.
No.
All right, let's just move on.
Yeah, no. I could have kept that going. But no, Orlando wants to move on. So let's move on. Monday Night Raw happened, and we got the announcement for the 6 women inside the Women's Elimination Chamber. And it will be obviously Alexa Bliss. She will be defending her title. And the other 5 women in it are Bayley, Sasha Banks, Mickie James, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose.
So many of them have a chance at winning.
Only love the sarcasm.
What?
Can I mention before we even get into the match how much I hated the Raw promo between her and Angle, and I'll tell you why. Not that
I was hoping so.
Yeah, well, just the fact that they kept trying to hammer home the fact that she is as important as Brock Lesnar. Corey Graves then goes on commentary, is like, "Yeah, I 100% agree." What the fuck are you talking about? Stop it. I like Alexa Bliss a lot. I think she should be the champion on Raw. You're telling me she's as important as Brock Lesnar?
Yeah.
She's not as established. That's my only...
Kill yourselves. Okay?
Go hang yourself.
It's bad.
I'm buying a gun.
It always comes full circle, just like the rope around the neck.
You keep your mouth shut because you'll be great with those two.
So okay, but let me ask. So you're saying that she had no basis for it, or just the whole she's not as important as Brock Lesnar?
She's not. I don't mind her bringing up the women's revolution and stuff and trying to use that as her excuse. I thought that was clever. I thought Angle's response to asking the crowd and getting them involved was decent too. That said, I just stop trying to push this fucking revolution down our fucking throat. Stop trying to exaggerate it to make it seem like the women are as important as they are not. Stop it. I like Alexa Bliss a lot, but what you're doing is you're actually just insulting us, because there's no fucking way anybody watching that TV program goes, "Yeah, Alexa Bliss is just as good as Brock Lesnar. Just as important, definitely."
She's got a good fucking point.
Stop it, you know?
So,
but wasn't the whole point of this whole women's evolution, revolution, whatever the fuck you want to call it?
And now it's
They
an
said we
evolution,
can come-
by the way.
They
evolved. The Pokemon.
The whole point was that they could compete on the same level as the men. That was the whole point of it, right?
Sure. Are they as important? You think Alexa Bliss is as important as Brock Lesnar?
No, I'm just saying.
Okay,
like,
thank you.
I'm just saying my only counter argument about the whole is that they can compete on the same level as the men.
Well, they still can't, but they're getting better.
I believe that
we've had this conversation already, Smitty. Talking about if women can,
I think Asuka can.
I'm just saying, like this where the current roster is and talent is now. I don't think they're on the same level competitive wise, but I think if they do actually dig deeper and train women better, they could be.
Well, yeah, I think they're getting there.
Fuck no.
Listen. I think they're getting there. I think they're getting better. But let's not pretend that the women are as good as the men. Let's stop that. Let's stop pretending that they are as big as draws as the men. More people tune in to watch Brock Lesnar because he's a draw everywhere. Everybody on the street knows who the fuck Brock Lesnar is. Most people don't know who the fuck Alexa Bliss is, okay? If you were to ask my mom who the fuck is Alexa Bliss right now, she would look at you like you are retarded, okay? She has no idea who the fuck Alexa Bliss is. Stop it. Just stop the nonsense. That's all I'm saying. I want to see the women do well. I want the women's revolution or Pokemon evolution thing to go well. I don't want to see... I'm tired of these stupid ass comparisons. Stop it. Just let them do their fucking thing and let them,
prove it.
Yeah, let them go out and fucking do their thing, and that's it.
Be a shower, not a girl. Be a grower, not a shower.
Women's Inferno match.
So I guess then, look, I agree. We've hammered this over 2 episodes ago, saying that there's no reason why anyone should feel that the women can hang in the same area as the men when it comes to the wrestling, and it's all genetics, man. It really is. It's 100% real genetics, because when men are built like and again, there's obviously exceptions to this rule, and we've said it, but women taking the bumps that the men take when you add like this elimination chamber or the ladder matches, their bodies aren't built for that. Maybe Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, but not fucking
Maybe
Mandy
Charlotte Flair,
Rose, not
Sharon
Bayley.
Corbin.
Sharon Corbin, she's really good.
Sure.
I do have a question though. So if this angle was reversed and used on SmackDown with Charlotte and AJ Styles, do you think would have been? Do you think you would have got you would have the same reaction?
No, because you're not getting that. You can't have that argument because AJ Styles is out there defending his title almost every fucking other week. You know, there's always so you can't have that argument. So no, whatever the fuck you just mentioned doesn't.
Like I said, kayfabe wise, I didn't mind her pushing the angle of the women's evolution or whatever. I thought that was fine. I thought they did a decent promo. It wasn't great, but it was entertaining enough. I just thought overall this idea they have to stop shoving it down our throats. If it's gonna happen, which the good news about pro wrestling is you don't necessarily have to be super athletic to be really good at this. You know, it is possible for women to be as good, if not better, than men at this. There's no reason that they haven't made this leap here yet.
Right.
In our world. Now, in real sports, it's different, but in our world where it's predetermined, there's really no excuse why the women haven't been stepped up and been better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to see that they're making strides, but just stop trying to fucking hammer it home that they're already there. Stop trying to fucking shove it down our throats. Everything they're doing is it's not organic. It's the exact opposite of organic. It's the exact opposite of a real revolution or
all
evolution.
Kinds of pesticides added in there.
Yes, it's yeah. So that's my issue with it. And we, like you said, we hammer it home, but it's like every time we hammer it home, they bring it back up and they do it again, and I have to go on the same stupid ass rant. Stop it.
So, Nick, you obviously just catching if you didn't hear that episode. That's basically everything that we talked about. We just kind of said, when you're watching this product with the women being given what they're given and saying what they're saying, how are you feeling about it?
Well, I think to your point, you're definitely right. I mean, it's being crammed down our throats with the whole women's evolution thing, and they're doing just fine, in my opinion. Like, you don't need to go way over the top, but you just keep doing what you're doing. That's all you got to do. Right. And I think there's a lot of women that are coming up that are starting to take those bigger bumps, that are starting to do these bigger moves because they're realizing that, from that perspective, as a woman, they can do it. Okay. We can do anything. Well, now you're starting to show it. So let's see more of that. Just keep on doing what you're doing. But when you sit there and you constantly, like that whole Paige thing, it's not Paige, when Emma kept talking about how she started the women's revolution, shut the fuck up. Okay. Please just stop.
Do it.
Just do it. Just show us what you've got.
But legitly, if you talk about within WWE, the two women that kind of sparked all of it were Paige and Emma.
I call bullshit on that, but that's okay. Well, that's a different argument for a different day. I just fucking think overall, like Nick was just saying, it has to be organic. Mm-hmm. If you want this thing to really fucking work, and the best things in wrestling are always organic. Mm-hmm. When they shove things down their throats, when they start fucking hammering home, lunatic fringe, nobody in the world watching TV is going, I love the lunatic fringe. Stop. It's them. It's the way they push shit. Mm-hmm. It's so over the top ridiculous.
It's the same thing they've done with the promos. Remember the promo that Miz and Baron Corbin and Mojo all cut when they were in their cars and it was just bare bones, however they felt. Now you have those promos on fucking television.
And you get to watch Cena walk forward.
And
backward. And then forward again.
And then add the fucking stupid graphics to it and everything like that.
Comic book shit.
Please.
I can't stand it.
I hate that.
You had something that was really good and WWE said, you know what? Let's WWE this.
And the thing I really don't get is
that should be a thing. Let's WWE this. Because that should be their fucking, like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
They ruin shit like that.
But like, they even give you that graphic before whoever is about to do one of those live cam fucking promos. And it says John Cena. Like, when he shows up on the screen, no one's going to know who the fuck he is.
Right. The worst one is the Usos. The whole lockdown thing from 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Last week, I liked it. This week, I did not.
I hated it last week, but I was sick. That's why I couldn't comment on it last week.
It's okay. We hate you anyway. And the
all the white men hate me apparently.
No,
just go hang yourself, all right?
God damn! I made all those jokes about my own self. You're in a studio with a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, right.
I thought about that when you said it.
No shit.
I don't believe
That's how
Who was-
listening works.
Who was not mentioned for the Women's Elimination Chamber was Nia Jax. And Kurt Angle even went on to say, so she's going to face Asuka at Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. And if she beats Asuka, then she gets added to the match at WrestleMania. And it's a triple threat match for the women's title, which obviously now it's the Raw women's title because Kurt can't just say that if it's the SmackDown. Because if Asuka's going to face Charlotte, you can't just say, oh, and Nia's in it now.
They've killed the lead.
You know, so it's you're like you said, yeah. You bury the lead. We know where Asuka's going now after Elimination Chamber, and obviously Nia's not going to be a part of this. So once again, you're making Nia look weak. For what?
Plus, Asuka already beat Nia.
Yeah,
Just happened.
and then Nia's going to say, "I'm the only one that can beat you." No, you lost.
Yeah.
You couldn't even get back in the ring.
You lost in NXT by pinfall or submission. I think
Pinfall.
it was a pinfall.
No, submission.
Didn't
Submitted.
Sasha submit her in NXT when Sasha
No.
had the title?
No, Sasha made Nia. She made Nia pass. Betty made Nia pass out.
Okay.
Sasha actually beat her by submission.
What I just fucking said.
We had a comment from a listener on Twitter. He said, I am getting tired of them mentioning the women's revolution every week. It's time for them to stop mentioning it and start showing the world why they are the best women in the world. That's at BINHXNUN.
But are they?
They're not.
They're not the best women in the world?
I don't think so. I don't
Some
think.
of them.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, I'm not
I'll go with that. Some of them.
They're getting
Some of
there.
them, yeah. I can't say that. I watch women's wrestling from Mexico and Japan.
Yeah, that's what I'm
as
saying.
well.
I mean, I've been watching, I talk about her every other fucking time we bring up this women's. Manami Toyota is better than any woman that WWE's ever had, and this was mid-90s, and she was fucking getting 5-star Meltzer ratings in every other match.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Japanese wrestling
Lo Shirai.
women for the last 30 years have been superior than anything that WWE's put on in the last ever.
I've said Lo Shirai a couple times on the show, and Lo Shirai, she was contracted with the the performance center. She had a really bad injury that took her out pretty much most of 2016. When they let her go mid 2017, when she finally came back, she's probably one of the better performers.
And it's no doubt that WWE doesn't hire women based on their way they can wrestle. They hire
Models.
No,
They are now.
No,
They're
no,
making
no,
changes now.
No, they are still not hiring based on how they can wrestle, on who's the better performer. I'm not saying that it's all looks, but it's definitely a strong part of demographics. The girl that they hired from India, that's a 100% demographic pull.
Oh, 100%.
You know, and that's what I'm talking. I'm not saying that they're hiring.
Well, I think-
this chick's hot, so I can bring her in.
Well, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say it is ironic, though, because now they actually are hiring workers.
Yeah.
Like that people, men and women, that can work. So they are adding those people in, too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying because you got to understand this is a new thing.
Yeah.
Because years ago, they literally hired fitness models. And they hired fucking
Dana
bodybuilders.
Tori Wilson, Kelly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they are making some changes, but I think you're still going to see the demographic hires. You're still going to see a couple fitness models hired because there's still, even as an audience, there's guys that just want to see hot women. They don't care to see the women wrestle.
I agree.
You know, as crude as that sounds.
Well, Liv Morgan, horrible wrestler, but I love looking at her.
Mandy Rose.
Sure.
Mandy Rose actually on the Mixed Match Challenge proves
Oh
some
no,
stuff. to
I
me.
should know. I saw it. I saw it too. Her and Goldust.
That was a good little gimmick that she had going, and I remember her from Tough Enough. I remember her on in that, and just me going, God, the only reason you're even this high up is because of how you look, and it's true, but does not take away the fact that now she is in that ring and she is wrestling well.
Yeah.
Like, sure, was that call up partly because of looks? Mm-hmm. But at the same time,
But also, she was wrestling NXT dark matches for almost the last 3 years.
but that's what I'm saying. As I'm getting to that, the point is she's no longer just a pretty face. She can also put in work in the ring now. So it's not like her call up was just pretty face. WWE is still, as we said, they are making people workers. Demographics play a huge part in this, and it's so
That's for the men, too.
Yeah,
I mean, we should
and
mention
it's
that.
because again, you know,
Hung
Jinder
Lu
Jinder
or
Mahal
whatever
was
that-
that title because they were building a market in India. You know, it's not just women, but at the same time, it does take away from who you can bring in. You know,
Candice LeRae was the best signee they've done for the women in a long time.
yeah, strong worker,
Good worker, good looker. But that's why she was so easy to sign.
That's why she's married. Look good. Next up,
Also,
we're going to
Zelina
talk.
Vega.
Next up, we're going to talk about the Raw Tag Team Championship match that was supposed to happen. Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins were supposed to face the Bar again. However, Jason Jordan's injury that had been kind of placating him for the last couple of weeks, which he wasn't supposed to be taking many bumps, and he really didn't. Even at the Royal Rumble, it was just someone pushed him into a ring post, and he was just out and tagged himself back out of the match, just sat on the ring steps, didn't have any involvement. Turns out it wasn't just a work. Like, we all thought it was like a knee something, but he went and had surgery the other day, a minimally invasive surgery. There's no real set timetable for when Jason Jordan is coming back, but he had the surgery. I want to say today, as a matter of fact, was the surgery.
Today.
It was, yeah. So today, obviously, is Wednesday. No, so that means I believe the surgery was yesterday then.
I thought it was.
Yeah, the surgery was Tuesday, February 6th. Oh, yeah. WWE put it in their news that he went and he had the surgery. I had the whole fucking thing pulled up and now it went away. So he had the surgery. It was a minimally invasive surgery, but there is, like I said, no timetable set for his return. And we were talking about it because even, Z had mentioned that Meltzer said that he was originally going to be in the Elimination Chamber. Like, next week, it was going to be, after they lost the tag titles match this week, that it was going to be Jason Jordan versus Seth Rollins as he was going into the Chamber. And Jason Jordan was going to win that match and go into the Chamber, setting up Rollins Jordan at Mania, which again is, they didn't just do this to see who went in the Chamber. But yeah, so the surgery that he had was called minimally invasive posterior cervical microdiscectomy. And like I said, not knowing how long it's going to be out. So now you got to wonder what's in the mode. What's going to happen with Seth Rollins? Nick, obviously you watch the product. Where do you think they can take this for him to keep him into some sort of decent match at Mania? Because he's not involved in the Fatal 4-Way, the Last Chance Fatal 4-Way for the Chamber. So he's not even going to be in the Chamber.
Right.
So does he get a match at Fastlane? Does he not get a match at Fastlane? Because
Elimination Chamber.
I mean, yeah, Elimination Chamber. Does he not get a match at that? For the simple fact that even your Intercontinental Champion is in the fucking Elimination Chamber.
Which I thought was really weird, but that's for another time. I thought it was really interesting that I read this article today that this whole neck surgery thing is just kayfabe. For the simple fact of this, when a WWE superstar gets injured, they're gone, like, immediately. They don't dick around and let them come on air for 2 or 3 weeks, unless you're Paige, okay? But they've already established that she's done or whatever she is. To use the whole angle, and I wrestled and won the championship at the Olympics with a broken freaking neck or whatever his story was. And he's going to use that same line as Angle's son to beat Seth Rollins at Mania with a broken freaking neck.
I was under.
I'm kind of interested to see if that's true or not.
See,
I mean, yeah, it'd be. I would personally hate that angle, but
me too.
I could see where they're coming from, but at the same time, in the article I read, he was having problems, but it wasn't until they didn't think it was anything bad until he started having like pain radiating down his fingertips, and they were saying he couldn't like grip anything.
Yeah, I did see that.
So he had to either do physical therapy and see where that takes him, or get the surgery and be out at least a year.
Yeah.
So I mean, either way.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because when Seth Rollins was wearing his little cane pants at Rumble, and he
cane pants.
And he was having this fucking match. I was really annoyed with the way the match was going because I had mentioned it to you, Mikey, in private, but I was really annoyed by the fact that it was essentially a handicap match, and we'd already seen one earlier in that night. And so I was really annoyed by the fact that they did that. I was like, that takes away from, but now it makes sense. You know, if he's really hurt, it was like, oh, well, then that fucking makes sense. They had to do something smart to get him out of the fucking match.
Even though the match was already booked and you couldn't just, you didn't want to forfeit the match or anything like that. But remember, even before that, I had said, oh, this seems like it might go into a Fatal 4-Way now because Titus Worldwide went over on the Bar. And Balor Club got involved ringside, so there could have been a fatal 4-way for those tag titles, and there wasn't.
That would have been a smarter booking idea.
I mean, maybe they didn't have confirmation of that injury until right before Rumble. Because again, nothing happened with them last week, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No.
Jordan and Rollins, they didn't fight at all like that. They was just
there was a quick little promo in the back. That's it.
Okay. So yeah, so he's obviously not been doing anything, and now with the injury and the surgery that just happened the other day, I don't know, man. Smitty, where do you see Seth Rollins going with this?
Unfortunately, I don't. Just looking at the Raw roster, unless you're going to do a crossover between SmackDown and Raw, I don't see Rollins on the card. And that's unfortunate for me because I'm a big Rollins fan. Because who you going to put him with? Besides, only person I can see you put him with is Elias.
But Elias is in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I'm talking about for Mania. You asked where do you see him going into Mania, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Unless you put him with Elias, you don't put him with anybody. And if you're trying to build Elias, putting him with Rollins is not a good idea for Mania.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't see Rollins on the Mania card.
Man, that
I think he'll be on the Mania card because they include everybody, so he'll be in something. But
unless you give him the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
Honestly, like
what the fuck?
They're not going to do this, but what would benefit him the most would be to go to SmackDown right now. Like if there's some gimmick where they worked where like his contract was up and he showed up in SmackDown, like that would be much more beneficial to him.
There's a lot of guys on Raw that will do better on SmackDown.
Of course, we've talked about that, but I think right now would be the opportunity to do it with Seth because he's not doing anything.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what else they would have going for him because I assume Finn's going to work with Miz. I would assume then it would be who's Strowman going to work with?
Cena, maybe.
Cena probably.
Probably get Cena. Yeah.
So then it'd probably have to be Elias and Rollins by default.
I'm saying the only person I can see Seth with is Elias, and if they don't do that, unless they're going to roll Elias, I think they're really going to roll with Elias Cena for some reason.
I've seen rumors of Undertaker Cena.
Yeah.
No, it's going to either be Elias or Strowman with Cena.
I don't know. I think Strowman would make more. I put out a poll on our Twitter because right now the best idea for Ronda Rousey is a tag match. And you could see Braun Strowman and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie because Braun and Triple H had those problems back at Survivor Series that would play into now. Triple H and Stephanie had the problem with Ronda Rousey a couple WrestleManias ago. You know, I'd rather see that than Angle. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
You
or
know,
Rock, because
the Rock's filming a movie in May, so because of how soon in between that is, that might not happen for the simple fact that injury and they don't want to insure him. Same thing with Cena. Why Cena couldn't do anything post Survivor Series? You know, I think that your best bet right there is to put Braun with Rousey, and then you have
it's a quick draw. And
on top of that, you protect Ronda Rousey. You know, there were some people that replied to that were like, "Oh, I want to see her versus Charlotte Flair," and it's like, why? All that's going to, if she signed on full time and she's only been really training since July and she's not really had a bunch of matches under her belt, you're going to expose her weaknesses like you did Lana when you gave her the third fucking title match against Naomi.
Plus, they need to present Ronda.
Like Shayna Baszler.
Plus, they need to present Ronda as Goldberg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just have her run through all these lowbrow nobodies until it's fucking time. You know what I mean? And that way she's gaining experience. She's doing all this stuff as she, you know what I mean, is out there. But you're right. I think putting her in any type of real match right now would expose her.
Yeah.
And she would, even if the match ends up entertaining because people will be invested because it's Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the match will be good.
Right.
It's a cheap draw if you do it that way.
That's the whole point of her for me.
It's going to be a draw no matter what.
It's,
but I think you're right. I think they need to put her in something that protects her.
And because if you have her long term and you put her against Asuka or you put her against Charlotte, you put her in a singles match right now and it shows how weak she is, you've ruined her for down the line.
At least a year and a half.
I said the same exact thing last week. You talked about it.
What?
I said the same exact thing last week when we talked about it.
When? On the show?
Yeah.
I do not remember that.
We'll go back and listen.
I listen. Still don't remember that. Up next. So, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are supposed to be fighting to find out who is going to be the number one contender for AJ's WWE Championship at Fastlane. AJ ended up getting involved, getting Owens and Zayn disqualified, therefore setting up a triple threat match now at Fastlane between AJ, KO, and Sami Zayn. Nick, being that there's already been so much AJ KO and now AJ KO and Sami Zayn, and even on the show, AJ was like, I'm just sick of management obsessing about these two. Are you getting worn down on it? And you think this is, because obviously this is supposed to be the final shot.
Yeah, it better be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you same way?
I'm done with it. I mean, it was cool while it lasted, and the handicap match at Royal Rumble, that was it for me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Let's move on from this. But you know, when I saw the ending of that match last night, and I saw AJ get involved with the way he did, in my mind I was like, why?
Mhm.
I mean, he didn't have to strike either one of them to have that match called. He didn't have to. I mean, that was a way for them to set up the triple threat, but I mean, for a second I really thought that what the hell? Daniel Bryan was going to come out and be like, okay, we're going to do the handicap match again. You're going to get a rematch now because, you know, they were talking all that shit
Right.
with the referee and whatever. I hope that it's it. I hope that's the last we hear of it. Let's get this shit out of the way.
Smitty.
I'm fine with this match at Fastlane being the end of it in general. I'm fine with it. It's like, this is like literally the most I could take of it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. The handicap match, it was probably the highlight of the whole Royal Rumble pay-per-view outside of the Rumble matches.
Uh-huh.
So, and like, I know those three guys can go. I've watched their careers from day one for the most part. So I know these guys can go. I know they've worked together throughout various indie promotions and blah, blah, blah. This in WWE needs to be the end-all be-all when it comes to the WWE Championship and them in WWE, at least for another year or two, before you see any of these three guys together again.
Well, and that's why I'm okay with it being the last match, because Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, when they're in a one-on-one match, a lot of their matches are fucking phenomenal.
Even
we
the
all
one
know
on-
AJ's phenomenal.
The one on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It was actually a great match.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've seen Zayn hit the through the ropes DDT in a couple of different matches. He's tried, but it's the first time that he's connected with it.
Well, I think that's because he don't trust too many people doing that maneuver. It's actually, if you look at it, it looks dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't think that Sammy or Kevin trust anybody doing it besides those two right now.
Yeah, makes sense. And then finally the ending of Raw. Braun Strowman not involved, another triple threat match. Again, Braun Strowman was not involved in the finish, even though he caused the finish. And Elias got the pin on Cena, so Elias is now the last person in the Elimination Chamber. He will enter the chamber match at number 6. How many times can they do this with Strowman before it's just, okay, man, we get it. Like, he can't lose because it will make him look like less of a monster. To me, this is becoming more annoying than AJ, KO, and Sami Zayn, because the way he's losing is they have to put him in a triple threat match is the only way he does not win that match. You know,
In general,
Well, that's why he's in the
A
chamber
multi-man
match,
match.
because that's the only way he cannot win that match.
and eventually this huge behemoth of a man either needs to win the WWE title, because I know we
that or
get it.
he's getting put down by Cena.
I know we get it. They're building Roman Brock at Mania, but it's going to happen. And there's going to be a post where Brock is gone. So then maybe Roman and Braun, and this is sort of setting it up through the Elimination Chamber. But fucking Braun is still ranting and raving about Brock. I'm to the point
What
where
if they're not pushing Roman and Brock? I mean, that's what everybody believes. That's what the rumors are.
No,
Absolutely. But now what if,
you
Swerve, Strowman wins the Elimination Chamber and it's Strowman Brock? And,
I fucking
and
hope so.
And Strowman finally goes over.
that will make a lot of people happy, but that is WWE has their heart set on Roman
because The Miz is
Brock.
clearly in that match to set up his next feud.
I can see that. Him and
Elias, him and Finn, you can go multiple different ways with it, but he's only in that match to set up his next feud.
Orlando.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with it. I said it months ago. I said, he's really green, but Braun Strowman would be my guy if I'm going to run with one guy, you know what I mean, to build the company around for the future. It's not Roman Reigns. It's Braun Strowman. Strowman is just a special fucking talent.
You're
When you
Andre
see
the
him,
Giant. Like,
listen, he's green as fuck, and he does things all the time where I'm like, man, you could have got more out of that. Man, you fucking, if you would have just done this little tweak here, you know what I mean? But that said, the dude is a one-of-a-kind fucking animal.
He also has an organic reaction with the crowds.
I mean, they do some silly, stupid shit with him, and I, if they can get away from doing all the silly stuff and just have him destroy motherfuckers.
Speaking about silly stuff, do you see the meme about him?
Hey,
I'm sorry. You said silly stuff. I'm like, it had me brought up something. It wasn't a rant.
Smitty Bell.
It wasn't a.
Yeah,
rant.
just in general, I just think Strowman is a special athlete. And so if I'm building off of a young talent to build around, it's like, there's nobody else in the company like him. You're not. I don't think I've seen anybody in a long time that reminds me of Strowman. So it's just, to me, that's the guy you would want to be like, oh, this is the new next big thing. And I feel like they've been holding off because Brock is still there, and they're like, well, we don't want to pull. And then we also have Roman Reigns, who's our fucking guy. But it's like, okay, you got that, but what you're doing is kind of killing this dude here.
yeah, like, why wouldn't, and like I've said Finn for the IC belt, but why not put Braun there for the IC title? Like, that gives him a title and takes him away from the top contender picture.
because Braun's a special kind of athlete, like Chris just said, and
that's the
he
thing
goes
is-
after the main title.
And that's the thing is they don't know what to do with him. Is they get him there, and then they're like, oh, well, we can't actually pull the trigger yet. But
So we'll pull back.
exactly.
And it just looks dumb.
So it's like they booked themselves into a fucking corner, like they did with Ryback. Do you remember Ryback was
Yeah.
super fucking over? People can talk about not liking him or whatever. He was over as fuck for a minute.
Yeah,
And then they put him in there with Punk, whose gimmick was he hadn't lost the title. So instantly, you booked yourself into a fucking corner where now this guy has to lose. Yeah, it was shenanigans, but then you killed him. You killed Ryback. They're slowly doing that with Strowman. You know, they keep pushing him back up, and then it's like, oh shit, we're in this corner again. What do we do?
It's kind of like what they do with Wyatt to a certain degree.
Well, Wyatt, Wyatt's a different
you
story.
say Wyatt,
but-
Wyatt, he'll win like 3-4 major feuds. You put him into his first major feud, and then you
I mean,
just
I don't
go ahead
think
and
they're-
put him in the ground.
I get what you're saying in terms of the booking, but I think that's as far as the similarities end there. But either way, I'm just saying Strowman is a special athlete. That's a one-of-a-kind fucking guy. You're either going to pull the trigger or you're not, but stop doing this half-ass fucking push, take it away, push, take it away. Because what you're going to do within another year, if this keeps happening, we
Keep
are not
like
going to
Kane.
care anymore.
Is he like
We will
Kane
stop
Big Show?
caring. Stop interrupting me.
Idiot.
You just made the list.
I'm on a lot of people's list, so fuck all of you.
Were you done? Even though
Yeah, I'm done. Done now. There's nothing more to add.
Nick, how do you feel about Braun?
It's been going back and forth for over a year where like you think he's going to get to that point. This is the time. This is when we're going to see him go over and get that title. And then it just deflated. And then it builds back up and then it's deflated. And then I really thought that maybe there was a possibility at the Rumble that he might just win that title. He
yeah,
didn't.
maybe until he kneed Brock in the side of the head.
Yeah. Fuck. That was brutal.
That punch afterwards.
But they need to get shit or get off the pot. I mean, and it doesn't have to happen tomorrow, but it's got to happen soon. You know?
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to talk who is the most overrated and who is the most underrated wrestler. If you guys are listening live, go on our Twitter feed right now at BDRcast. Tweet us your responses on who you think is more overrated, most underrated. And when we come back, we will read some of your tweets on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Breaking Down the Ring, and we are getting into a topical discussion today. The most overrated wrestler, maybe of all time. The most underrated wrestler, maybe of all time. Whoever we're talking about. This all stems from a post that I put up that we said we would talk about weeks ago, but then Royal Rumble and all kinds of fun stuff got involved. And
Post that you were wrong about?
No,
You're more wrong than I am.
no.
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty fucking wrong.
I'm the king of wrong style, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are we laughing at that? He's not the first time he's ever said
That
that.
was funny.
It's the first time I said it on air.
No.
Hey, it's the first time I remember hearing it. I laughed.
Me too.
Get over it. What was the most overrated comment on this show?
Okay. I put out a post stating that I feel the most overrated wrestler of all time, gimmick and wrestler, not person behind the scenes, is Undertaker. And
Wrong.
Well, let him frame his argument.
And the reason I say this, and it's this comment stems from all these one has to go things that pop up. Taker's involved, and it's usually something like Austin, HBK, Kurt Angle, Undertaker. And people are like, well, Angle's got to go, or Triple H has got to go. And it's like, but if you lose these people, you lose their entire contribution to wrestling. So I've always looked at it, and every time Taker's on, I'm like, well, Taker can go. That's the easy one for me all the time. Because if you lose Triple H, you lose NXT and how great that's doing, and the evolution of WWE, how it's coming into. I'm not talking about his run in WWE, although he picked up the ball and ran with it really well when Rock was doing movies and Austin was injured and things like that. He had a good run with that. The McMahon-Helmsley era and regime stuff, that stuff was good. But I'm saying that Undertaker is put into a lot of people's Mount Rushmore. Top 4 all time. And I find that bullshit. I'm not saying he sucks. He's definitely top 10. We had a comment. There was a comment that Smitty made. We are off air the night we were talking about this, and he goes and he's like he would be on the Dream Team, and I was like, yeah, he'd totally be Chris Mullin. 100%. He'd be the Chris Mullin of the Dream Team because he's there.
I said it'd been a Chris Webber, not a Chris Mullin.
Chris Mullin. He's Chris because he's had no outside of a longevity gimmick. Right? And the streak that could have been handed to anyone. Taker has been basically on air, right place, right time. He has been a transitional.
I don't like that statement.
He has been I'm not saying he's done bad. Again.
Go ahead. Make your argument.
But again, it's a transitional champion. He's had only 2 runs longer than 30 days. Okay? He has his storylines aren't really, you don't go back going, oh yeah, I have this, and this for Undertaker storylines. There's the Paul Bearer urn thing when Kane came in. That was a great storyline.
Yes. That was a horrible.
Shut up.
You are really bad at interrupting today. I'm gonna
pull the noose out of the garbage. God damn.
I'm gonna put my fist through a certain place with a sun.
At least you won't be talking.
So Undertaker, I feel, is good. I am not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's not top 10, but he is definitely not top 4 as far as anything goes in wrestling. If you get rid of him versus any of these other guys, Triple H, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Austin, HBK, Kurt Angle, guys like that. And
I would rate him higher than Kurt Angle, but
higher than Kurt for sure.
But out of the other guys, I will say, to your argument, before I destroy it, that I agree with he is not a top 5 all time. I think people are overrating him in that sense. If anyone's putting them in their top 5, it's just, again, it's subjective, but they're wrong. Okay, he's not a top 5, but he is on the Dream Team.
Yeah,
and I don't think you can be like, this guy's overrated when you go, oh, he's still one of the greatest of all time. He still makes the Dream Team. If you're talking top 10, I think he's definitely a top 10 guy of all time. There's been thousands of pro wrestlers. Top 10's pretty fucking good.
Okay, before Triple H and HBK matches at Mania, does Taker make the Dream Team, or is Andre Andre better than him then? I'm talking before the 2 HBK and
yes,
even before then, yes. His career was just there's never going to be another run like his. And to your point about the titles, I don't think that matters. 'Cause I don't think Taker ever needed the belt. You could say he needed the belt that first run. When he first got it, when he first beat Hogan.
The 6-day run?
Yeah, the one.
His first belt run was 6 days.
6 days when he lost on Tuesday in Texas.
Tuesday night in Texas.
Because that just made him credible as a main event guy. So that one you could say, oh, he needed. At no other point in his career ever did Undertaker need the belt, because he was always the Undertaker.
And that's why he was the perfect transition champion.
Yeah, he never needed the belt. At any other point in his career, he was already a main event player no matter what. He was never the guy. Let's be justifiable to Mikey's point. He was never the guy. There was always Austin, there was always Hogan,
he was more like the mule.
Triple H.
But he was still one of the top dudes for 30 fucking years, and there's never going to be another career like that. And he's also the innovator of all these other matches, the Buried Alive, the Casket, Hell in a Cell, Body Bag.
Hold on. You can't. That argument falls to the wayside when we're all talking about how these fucking women are being thrown in first ever matches now, and it's like, oh, you're just being thrown into them because it's the time to put it in because it works with who you are at the moment. And the match is coming up. So these Inferno matches, when he's doing it with Taker and when he's doing it with Kane and everything, it's also.
But according to the framing of your argument was that you would lose all that. So we would lose all these matches. And we don't know, hypothetically, if these matches would ever be introduced if it wasn't for The Undertaker.
Mike, can I ask you a question? Do you think you could carry on a storyline with a Buried Alive match or a Casket match without a character like The Undertaker?
If you had
see, that's what I'm saying. So
because without Undertaker, you don't have characters like Mankind or Kane.
You still get Mankind.
No, you wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
No, you would not.
But you could.
He would have still been Cactus Jack.
In fact, without the Undertaker, you may lose Mick Foley even getting signed to the WWE.
Yep. So again, you lose a lot when you say those things. So when you say those points, I'm like, okay, I'm off the board. But I do agree he's not a top 5. If your argument is, oh, Undertaker doesn't belong in top 5, I agree with you.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Overrated.
So he's a 6 man.
So in that sense,
no,
I wouldn't even have him 6, but I say around 10. He's around my 10 mark.
I'll give him 10.
And I think that's still really fucking good. So I'm okay with that.
Oh no, and again,
so again, certain framing of your argument I agree with, and then there's certain times where you said some other things. He was in the right place at the right time where I'm like, I don't know about that.
Which is fine.
It's really hard to be a dead character.
But isn't that part of the business to a certain degree? Being at the right place at the right time?
Yeah.
They say that for Austin. They say that for Rock. They
but
say
you
it for Hart.
You couldn't be the right place at the right time for 30 fucking years. You have to be pretty fucking talented to make that work for that long.
Well, it doesn't. It helps that he wasn't the guy getting injured until later in his career. Taker had
healthy.
A very workhorse mentality about him. When he was wrestling a lot of days, a lot of pay-per-views. He was putting in the most matches, while other guys like Austin were getting hurt. Triple H tearing a quad. Rock going. I'm saying I agree. I'm not. If anyone is listening to this and they think that I'm saying The Undertaker sucks, I do not think he sucks.
But yet you should say he's overrated.
Because he is not top
But he's
5.
overrated according to the argument that he's framing.
And that's what I'm saying. So many people, including yourself, Smitty, have Undertaker in the top 4 Mount Rushmore. And it's stupid because even Vince McMahon himself, when he was asked by Bubba Ray, who is your Mount Rushmore? Vince goes, and I swear to God, I don't agree with this either, but in Vince's Mount Rushmore, it's Hogan, it is Andre, Cena, and Austin. Even Vince, who loves Taker, didn't put him on his Mount Rushmore. And granted, you can look at the 4 that he gave. It's like, these are the guys that gave him the most money.
Yeah.
I can't even argue. Yeah.
Money.
Yep. Every one of those put WWE on a new level of playing field. But again, even on Vince McMahon's, he wasn't Undertaker.
You put Austin at 4?
I don't know if he.
He just said those are the top 4. I don't think they were in a
put it in a specific order. Yeah, but that was even Vince McMahon's Mount Rushmore doesn't have Undertaker on it, and that's why I say he's the most overrated because was when I put that thing out, 75% of the people on that were like, "Yo, yeah, he's definitely up there." No, he's not. And that's why I say he's overrated. Because when 75% of people who are voting in polls on more than one different area of social media are all saying Undertaker is in that upper echelon of people, that's why I say he's one of the most overrated.
I have another point on that. It's like, look at the Monday Night Wars. Who was the one guy that was consistent and kept that company afloat during the Monday Night Wars?
So then Sting deserves to be in your top 4? Because Sting stayed on fucking WCW the whole time. So if you're going to use that argument, there's your rebuttal.
No, but
Sting was more over than the Undertaker that period too.
Fuck yeah. So Sting's better than Undertaker? Or Undertaker's better than Sting?
I put him at the same level, honestly.
All right. Well, anyways, all right, Z, who's your most overrated?
Awesome. Nice segue.
Mike Awesome?
Fuck you.
No, he did.
No, Mike Awesome. If he didn't die
No, that's not.
Smitty, it was my most overrated gimmick wise, not necessarily in ring work, but just the whole thing is the Ultimate Warrior.
Okay, explain why.
He lost 4 times on television, and I don't think any of them were clean. Pretty sure none. He never lost clean.
That just means he's sweet, but go ahead.
No, that means you're overrated. And my whole art, like, I just
You said about Roman and fucking Goldberg too.
Hold on. Calm down. Smitty, stay on topic. Let him talk.
God damn it. I don't know. I was just never since Joe's not here, I'll take his spot. Like, his gimmick was very cartoonish.
Tickle butt.
Very tickle butt. And he just, I don't know. He had a good match with Hogan and a nice build up to that. But beyond that, like, I just wasn't ever really a fan.
Now, Orlando, who is your most underrated?
Well, I was going to say I had 2, but
Okay.
one of my most underrated is Ultimate Warrior.
So-
and the reason why is, first off, I don't care if he cuts the most nonsensical promos, talking about snot and space. I don't give a fuck, okay? As a kid, I thought he was the coolest fucking dude in the world.
And
He's my very first favorite pro wrestler that I ever had. So the first favorite pro wrestler I ever had was Ultimate Warrior. Not to mention, I think
We not friends.
he had the 2 best matches at 2 Manias in a row. Him and Hogan at WrestleMania 6 was it was a great match. People can talk about Hogan they're all full of shit. That match is fucking phenomenal even today. And then next year, him and Savage, WrestleMania 7. Best match on that Mania. He stole 2 different Manias. Well, the reason why he's underrated is because people talk about what a sloppy wrestler he is and all this shit. He, to me, was that era's Roman Reigns, because he's one of the guys that people look back and go, oh, he was sloppy, he couldn't wrestle. Bullshit, dude. He might not be a fucking Kurt Hennig, he might not be a Bret Hart, but he was there when he needed to be, and he fucking could tear it up when he wanted. He had 2 fucking Manias that he had the best match on. How many guys can say that?
You can't be underrated if you always go over.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
You can, because the revisionist history is they even made a DVD called The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. Remember that? And they had guys sit around burying him, talking about how bad he was of a worker and all this shit. And I sit there and I go, bull fucking shit. I've seen bad workers. That motherfucker put on 2 classics that are going to live forever, that will outlast anything that we're saying or talking about. I think he is underrated, not overrated. And that's my argument, is because people went out of their way to bury him for so many years. Yeah, everyone remembers the happy ending of him coming back. But there was years.
Squash Triple H at WrestleMania.
No. I meant recently, like when he came
before he died.
Yeah.
Right before he died.
For the Hall of Fame.
But people forget that for fucking 10 years there, they went out of their way to bury this motherfucker. So on their TV, that's the only DVD they've released where they went out of their way to bury somebody. So you have all these pro wrestlers, Hogan, everybody, sitting around burying the Warrior. And I go back
who
and
is Hogan to bury the Warrior, though?
Well, it wasn't just him. It was a lot of fucking
There was a lot of people.
dudes.
Triple H did it too.
Yeah, just everybody was on there burying him. And I go, he was not that bad of a worker. Listen, he might have been crazy. He might not have been the smartest business guy. He might have held Vince up for money. But that ain't got nothing to do with him being a good pro wrestler. He was an entertaining as fuck character. He could work when he wanted to. And he stole 2 Manias.
Mm-hmm.
Underrated.
How many did Michael steal?
Yeah, Michaels is better for sure. I think Michaels is the best
But no
in-ring
one's saying
performer
that
ever.
Michaels isn't good.
But I mean, when you think about it realistically, there's only a few guys who even had a Mania stealing match. There's only one a year, and he's had 2 of them, and he's only wrestled on fucking like 4 of them. You know what I mean? So that's pretty fucking good odds.
Smitty, who's your overrated?
Sandman. Both of my entries are both ECW guys. So
Okay, well, so why is Sandman overrated? to you?
Sandman is overrated because like the best thing about anything he did was his entrance.
Yeah.
Couldn't cut a promo, was sloppy in the ring.
He was drunk all the time. Oh, there's that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Where is Sandman normally rated for great wrestling? For great wrestlers?
He's great as one of the ECW greats. Literally.
He's one of the ECW legends.
Originals. He was
Yeah.
one of the ECW originals.
No, I don't
not
think-
one of the greats.
If I brought up ECW's
I would
top
think-
5 or 10, would you Sandman come in that
Fuck
category?
no.
Nope.
I
In
would
the
say
top
he would.
10?
I
Yes,
would say
he
he
would.
Because top 10? Well, okay.
Okay, top 10.
But-
Definitely not top 5.
That's kind of like, there's really, ECW's talent list was Sabu, Benoit, the Dudley Boys, and I'm talking the 2 that made it to WWE.
RVD was Mr.
RVD,
ECW.
yep, RVD,
Taz.
Taz was up there.
You had Bam Bam.
You would have to put
Well,
Shane Douglas in the top 10.
The more you talk about,
But-
the further Sandman drops.
If we
for
just,
me.
we talk about
'Cause even Chris Jericho came up through that ECW
Yeah,
pipeline.
Mysterio did.
Guerrero
Dreamer.
did too. Dreamer. There's a lot of guys that came up
Raven.
from ECW, but what the guy I thought was most overrated throughout all the ECW guys that you keep bring up a name for that brought ECW to prominence is the Sandman.
See, again, I don't think he brought anything. I think he was over with the fans because of his entrance. Similar to how Bobby Roode was pushed as a face when he hit SmackDown, was because of his entrance.
He was over. Yeah,
I don't think he's
overrated.
I'm
right?
saying he's overrated.
Yeah, I mean, I agree
I
with
get
you.
where you're coming from.
I agree.
all
I
he did
agree
was
with
get
the.
drunk and bleed. So.
Listen, I agree with the argument you're making. I just think it's an easy argument to make. It's like too easy, because it's like, okay, everyone knows that he was never like nobody's out there saying he was Kurt Hennig.
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
Why is
so
Kurt
if
Hennig my
nobody
benchmark
is trying
for
to
good
put,
That's
if
the second
nobody
time I've
he was
used
fan. He was fan fucking tastic.
But if nobody is
It's
trying
perfect.
to put Sandman at a high level, an upper echelon of wrestling,
Sure.
how can you say he's overrated? Because people don't even rate him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Under the framing of his argument, I agree with what he's saying. But I think, like to your point, Mikey, I just think it's an easy argument to make. But you're not wrong. He's
Maybe
definitely.
it's on my ECW mark.
No, I am
truly
too.
am.
I am too. But
ECW is amazing, but the only things that I have in my mind about Sandman for anything ECW is his entrance. That's it.
drinking a beer and
Yeah,
smacking
and
himself
smashing
with
the
a
fucking can
kendo
on his
stick.
head.
Yeah.
to be fair, I have a pretty easy pick for overrated too, though.
All right, so who's your overrated?
This is a very easy one. Jeff Jarrett. I never, ever.
That's a good one.
That's
a good one.
I never ever viewed him as a main event player ever. And the fact that he was WCW champion, then he went into Impact and was like their Triple H for a while. and
He
held-
also ran it. So
yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
but he didn't WCW, and they put the strap on him during the end. I didn't
Well,
mind.
when they put the strap on him, I guess he was part of the booking at that point.
Well, I didn't mind. Them pushing Booker T at the time. I thought Booker T. It felt organic. It felt like he belonged there. It felt like Scott Steiner even was a main eventer at the time. Even though it felt like that. It did. But it did not. It never translated to me that Jeff Jarrett was a main eventer. He always, to me, was a mid-card guy that somehow was, and even his in-ring work, which people would talk about in the 90s, like, oh, they wanted to push him because they thought he was a really good. I think Jeff Jarrett's good. Like, I think he's good as a worker. But there's nothing special about Jeff Jarrett. There's never a thing that he's ever done. He can call people slap nuts and smack them with the guitar. That was entertaining, I guess.
Right.
But it was never like must-see TV. And I've never seen Jeff Jarrett a match, a promo. And, thank God he got rid of that ugly fucking strapped outfit because that was the worst fucking gear I've ever seen. But I just think he is just the epitome of, to me, is overrated. No way should that guy be a multiple-time WCW champion. No way that guy should be a multiple-time TNA champion. Like, fuck that guy. He's good. He's
not top 10.
No,
I agree with you.
No fucking nowhere. Not top 50, not top
Yeah, I was gonna say
100.
he's not even. Yeah,
How the fuck is that guy a multiple-time world champion when we have guys that like Jake and them who have never held the strap?
A 3-time NWA champion. If you think about it too.
Yeah. Well, what's left of the NWA?
So my thing about Jeff Jarrett is he was a great booker until he books himself.
Yeah.
And that has always been my argument with Jeff Jarrett. He's a great booker, great worker. When he starts to book himself, that's when shit goes to shit.
JEFF JARRET.
All right, Nick.
who's
most
your
overrated?
Overrated?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I had another one too, but sorry, go ahead.
No, it's good. Right now, Shinsuke.
Really?
Controversial. Here we
This is
go.
where the controversy is. Welcome, bring it on the ring.
You
No,
thought I was controversial with Undertaker.
I will say this. I didn't get a chance to see a whole lot of him in NXT, okay? But as far as his WWE career goes, it's just been lackluster for me. I'm expecting more, and he's a good striker because they always talk about it, but he's a good striker, but I haven't seen that top-notch AJ Styles type match yet. I'm sorry. I have,
That's
then
fair.
you need to go back and watch
that's what I'm
NXT
saying,
and
yeah.
watch the Sami Zayn Nakamura match. That was his first match
Also,
ever in WWE.
I feel like
and it
they're
was-
holding him
was
back.
good.
Also,
You know
go
what I
back
mean?
and watch New Japan. Watch Wrestle Kingdom 10
Yeah.
with him and AJ Styles.
I believe you. Yeah.
Go back and watch just the evolution of Shinsuke Nakamura since 2007.
Yeah.
I am not going to even remotely argue your point because there have been many times that we have said, even ourselves, like when we were even discussing the Royal Rumble, it was like, oh, Shinsuke is the odds-on favorite to win. And I'm like, I don't want to pick him because I don't believe WWE is actually behind him.
Right.
With the way that he's being pushed right now. So yeah, I agree. As far as what you've seen on SmackDown of him, the WWE has dropped the ball tremendously. It's like every
but it's
time
not
they
just
go to
them, because
oh yeah,
let's put some blame on him too, because he's been put in a position to have great matches and he hasn't. With the exception of the Cena match, which I think is probably the best match he's had on the main roster.
Money in the Bank.
He's really been lackluster in his performances.
Again, I can't fully give it to him either because his style of wrestling, and it sucks, and it's really not WWE product. This is why he was so good in NXT, is because his style needs at least 15 minutes every time. It constantly needs a long match for it to build.
But I think on pay-per-views he's been given that.
Even against like Dolph Ziggler, he's given like 10 minutes and stuff like that. It's everyone.
I just think if Miz can go out there and have a match-stealing match with Dolph Ziggler, there's no reason you're telling me Shinsuke, who is supposed to be better than Miz in the ring, can't.
But we look
so to Nick's point, I agree with him, and I like Shinsuke, and I think, but the way what you're talking about on SmackDown, yeah, I agree. And I had my nephew over just the other day, and we were watching Raw, and he was asking me about the Royal Rumble because he had missed it, and I told him Shinsuke won. He's like, "Oh, that sucks," and I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Oh, he sucks." And like that was just a little kid's perspective of the product because that's how he's presented. He's like, "He sucks."
Now,
but you also look at when you brought up the Miz. The Miz is a product that he knows how the system works. He knows how. That
has nothing to do with the in-ring match, though.
And I'm going to tell you this right now. The point I was getting at is we have argued that Ziggler's been checked out for a very long time. Ziggler hasn't had the matches he used to have. He still sells for people, but he still doesn't put in the 110% to these matches. And then right after Ziggler, they put him in the program with Baron Corbin, another guy who's green but good when he has the right opponent. You know, Shinsuke is not the right opponent for Baron Corbin, and those matches then sucked. You know,
and that's what I'm saying though. If you're supposed to be this great in-ring worker, you need to be able to pull something out of people. And
like AJ does.
Yes.
Right.
Like AJ does it every fucking time. And if you're going to say Shinsuke is as good as AJ.
I'll never say that.
Well, I know, but that's the way he was presented. This guy is amazing. He's all these things. Then he has to live up to it. And I think he eventually will, but he hasn't yet.
He's still trying to learn his chemistry with some of the guys on this WWE roster still to a certain degree.
That's bullshit. That's a bullshit argument, Smitty, and I've told you that before. Right. Chemistry ain't got nothing to do with shit, okay? You're either good and you know how to work with people or you don't.
We got a comment, overrated, Lex Luger.
That's a good one, actually.
The Lex Express.
I was looking for it as a kid. I was on the highway looking for that motherfucker.
I actually feel
he slammed Yokozuna. How can I not look for it?
So the thing about the Lex Luger thing is they tried to make Lex the replacement for Hulk Hogan, and none of it was organic, and it just fell flat everywhere, all around. And that's what kind of made Lex overrated.
I think that, and I think Lex was never a great in-ring worker. And the problem is like, as with experience, you're supposed to get better, but somehow he got worse. Because if you look at his earlier matches, like stuff with Flair and stuff, and even in some of his earlier stuff, just in tag matches when he was with the Four Horsemen for a minute and stuff, it's all really good. Like he's really there for everything. But then as it goes on and it gets to the late 90s, it's like Lex is bad. You know what I mean? He throws bad strikes. It's like somehow his work, as he got more on the juice and more ripped, his work just started to get worse and worse.
Right.
And I love Lex, so I was a big Lex Luger mark when I was a kid.
So Nick, who is your underrated wrestler?
Mr. Perfect.
Okay. Why?
Because
and how?
Well, this is why. He had that stint when he was Mr. Perfect and he was heel, and then there was that time period when he was on what was the name of the show before Monday Night Raw? Primetime Wrestling?
Yep.
Primetime.
The round table discussion type deal, and he was on that, and there was that time when he came back and he wrestled with Randy Savage against Razor Ramon and Ric Flair. So he started to go over big time with the crowd. And then they're booking him in matches like the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam 93. And he lost because of Diesel.
Big Daddy Cool.
I think he was a great in-ring performer, and he was never given his due. I think he was so over in that early 90 period that he should have had a title reign. I really do. I really think he should have had a title reign, and they just kind of let him go by the wayside.
All right, Smitty, underrated.
Shane Douglas. I said both my entries
Franchise.
the franchise Shane Douglas. Even though he got his due at ECW, his due was always done in early ECW where they really had no traction under him. And he was underused in WWE, underused everywhere else besides that early run at ECW. He's the guy that made ECW kind of what it was.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at your comment of I'm reminding myself, it just reminded me of the pro wrestling crate that we opened up, that Z and I, and we the autograph 8x10 was Shane Douglas, and we just fucking ripped him. We're like, this gold vest looking motherfucker.
No, but like Shane Douglas threw the NWA championship to the side and said, fuck this, the ECW, the Eastern Championship Wrestling, but this before it was Extreme Championship Wrestling. He's the guy who pretty much coined ECW to Extreme Championship Wrestling. This is a guy whose impact on the ECW brand was detrimental to what it became.
And he was really good in the ring.
He was really good in the ring,
that.
and he was underused everywhere else he was. You kind of knew who Dean Douglas was, but you didn't care for Dean Douglas. When he was still Shane Douglas in WCW, you didn't know who Shane Douglas was. When he got to ECW and got to do his own thing, he was more appreciated, but it was during a time where Eastern Championship Wrestling was not recognized. And when he did his thing, Shane Douglas made ECW what ECW became.
You know, we gave him shit when we got that 8x10, but I agree. He was always really solid in the ring. The problem was that his character just, for some reason, outside of the bingo halls and the indie type scenes, anytime he went to a larger crowd, because we were any WCW as well. Because we had a conversation, we were talking about Monday Night Raw, the 25th anniversary, and Chris made a point. He was like, if 30 fucking people are annoyed at the fucking Manhattan Center, you're gonna know that the entire it's gonna get the entire crowd. But if 30 fucking people are annoyed at the Barclays, it's not gonna be paid attention to because it's 30 fucking people of all these thousands. There's that small percentage. So when you get the small percentage behind you in the smaller venues and you start getting over like that, if you only have, be it your fault or booking creative's fault, if you only have that same percentage, those same people in the larger crowds, it tends to kind of bury you as well. And he had a gimmick that didn't have mass appeal, but had appeal.
Well, the
It was a
issue.
shitty cartoon gimmick.
Let's
be honest.
Well, the issue was with Shane is he's probably the first guy to really cut those shoot style promos.
Mm-hmm.
He's the first guy on TV to do that. But like you're saying, when he goes to the WC,
Even before Roddy?
well, I guess you could say Roddy, but Roddy was still working. You know what I mean? Roddy was still working. Shane would just, cuss, and he would get right to the fucking point. And
he said, fuck the NWA championship.
not just that. I mean, Shane cut really good promos, but they were shoot style promos. He couldn't talk like he wasn't a character. When he tried to be a character, it was cheesy and it was silly. And I think, to your point, I think when he would go to these larger companies, with the exception of maybe the tag run, where it was him and Steamboat working with Austin and Pillman,
God, whoa.
which were great.
Yes.
With the exception, with the exception of that run, I really think he just was always underwhelming in WCW and WWE. Like, he just never really. There was nothing special about him. You know what I mean? He was Jeff Jarrett without the push. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, whereas in ECW, he was allowed to be himself and he was allowed to cut these shoot style promos, and so that favored him. If he would have been able to do that on TV, then maybe he would have became more successful.
That was always the great thing about Heyman. Heyman could see where your strengths were.
Yes.
And Heyman could pull your strengths out and manifest you to this godlike character.
And I love the ECW booking for that reason, because he could take misfits that would not get over in any other place and find a way to get them over.
Mm-hmm. And that's the reason Rhino's not over right now.
Well,
it's also a different gimmick time.
But
Rhino is no longer the man beast. He's the man blade.
I agree with your choice. I do think he's underrated. That was a good pick.
All right, Z, you're underrated.
The Blue Blazer. He had such a young, promising talent, and it all just came crashing down.
You're an ass.
Welcome to the most inappropriate.
But
So he took one fall and that was it.
Tragic. It's really tragic.
he always went under, never went over. I don't know.
We apologize to the Hart family.
I mean, but what are the odds you fall right into the ring post? Of all the places you can fall. All right, no, but
That was some bad blood.
No.
It's like they showed no mercy. On a
was
serious
capital
note,
punishment on a
though,
real note.
sticking with the same family but different deceased person, the British Bulldog.
Yeah.
He never got the title push, the main title push that I think he deserved. I don't even think he got the secondary. He got like the European title and the tag title.
He had an IC title. He had two IC title ones.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, younger. I'm thinking like mid-90s.
Yeah.
But I was always a
he
huge
beat Brandon
fan.
Wimbledon.
Like, ever since he was introduced, I was always a huge fan back to like when he had fucking dreads or whatever.
I was too. Yeah.
He had the look. He had the in-ring talent. He wasn't huge, but he wasn't small either.
What you mean he was juice? That fucker was juice.
I
That's the
thought he was-
definition of juice.
No, but he wasn't like a tall guy. He was like 5. I mean, he was puffy. Don't get me wrong, but he was like 5'9".
You mean big? You mean like tall?
He could fit in with that new generation of wrestling that was coming in with Brett and Shawn and everything. Like he wasn't. I mean, he was big for his size, for his height, but he wasn't a monster. Like
Detriment to him was that he couldn't cut a promo. He could never really talk.
yeah, but he had Cornette. I mean, you could have used Cornette and gave him a title run and did
You
it
also
with the whole
Dynamite
Camp
Kid.
Cornette thing and anything like that. I mean, you could throw
That's what I
really
was gonna
anyone
say.
from Camp Cornette in there. Like Vader should have had a title run.
Yeah.
British
Vader
Bulldog
did
should
have a title run.
Owen should have had a title run.
I think that's a good pick. I would say it's like it's almost hard not to mention Dynamite Kid though. When you say underrated and you talk about British Bulldog,
I agree.
Dynamite.
Was better than
Yes.
than
Oh yeah,
Davey.
Dynamite was an
Way better than
innovator,
Davey.
and Dynamite, to his credit, is kind of responsible for today's modern style in a lot of ways. There's certain guys, whether that they didn't necessarily know it at the time, but the snap to everything, the impact, everything's got that crisp look to it. That's from Dynamite Kid. Before that, if you go back and you watch old wrestling, nothing was as crisp and solid until Dynamite comes around. And that becomes now the style of today's wrestling. Everything has to be crisp. Everything has to look good. And when it doesn't, when it's sloppy or kind of like unorthodox, we're like, oh, that looks weird.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, oh man, Cena can't wrestle because he's unorthodox. That looks funky when he does a suplex. You know, because we're so used to that crisp. Well, that shit started with Dynamite. Dynamite changed the in-ring style of wrestling. And if you go back, you watch his matches with Tiger Mask and stuff. That stuff is better than today's stuff. And this is almost 40 years ago now.
Yeah, you're not joking.
So I just think Dynamite should get a mention there too. But yeah. Sorry, when you mentioned British Bulldog, I'm always like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
a Dynamite
Oh, yeah.
mark, so I got to mention Dynamite.
Sean Waltman was another guy I considered too.
Isn't that the whole
Underrated.
point of this discussion?
My underrated is gonna make Smitty so happy, and I honestly
Da-da.
feel
Da-da.
Roman Reigns is supremely underrated. I think he has got.
Suck a donkey's balls.
Let me get that noose out the garbage.
He is, and we've said it many times on this
Put this
show.
around his neck.
We've said this many times on the show. Roman Reigns consistently goes out and has good matches. He doesn't always pull something that we're like, oh my God, that's a 5-star match. But he is, you can't say, oh man, that match sucked with Roman Reigns. You can't, you might not be invested because you're not a Roman Reigns fan, but you can't go back, watch the match fully and go, well, that match was pretty shitty. Look at all these botched spots Roman Reigns did. Sure, Roman's not great on the microphone. I'm not arguing that at all.
He's gotten a little better.
He's gotten better, agreed, over time. But to say that Roman Reigns is not deserving of the spot that he's in is ludicrous because he does. He is consistently, yeah, sure, there's the look, and that's why Vince is pushing him. But he does
He's
not
like the
go.
women. You get pushed because you look.
No, I
No.
think guys have better looks than him. They push him for whatever reason, but I do agree with Mikey. I think he performs extremely well. And I am hard pressed to find, and we've had this discussion on the show where I've said he's had better matches than the other Shield members, like just consistently.
Better than Seth?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. We talked about it before. Seth has had one really memorable match, that triple threat at Rumble with Cena and Lesnar. And any other time Seth's had some decent moments. Like that RKO he took was decent, but the match was shit up until that point. You didn't care until that RKO he took at Mania.
That is correct.
But look what you had Seth work with compared to what you had Roman
Seth
work
has worked
with.
with just the same
Seth
people.
worked with all the fucking top guys because Seth had a long title run. Seth was working with like the likes of Randy Orton and things like
Cena.
Did Roman work with Orton?
Did Roman work with Orton? Or I think Orton's amazing. So
But
if
Roman didn't work with Orton yet.
okay, so then Roman's still having good matches and Seth's not, and he did work with Orton.
So
So
Seth,
again-
okay, I'm asking about SummerSlams. Seth versus Cena versus Roman versus Cena. What was a better match?
Roman versus Cena.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I don't know. they're probably on par. But
Bullshit.
I think
outside the finish was what
but
John
Reigns-
Stewart.
excuse me. Calm down.
Roman Reigns versus John Cena also, in my opinion, is better because there was a much better story behind it as well. So like when I'm saying like, okay, so Gargano and Almas got the first 5-star in almost 7 years
God, it was
from
amazing.
Meltzer, right? For NXT TakeOver, right? We said that Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream deserved a 5-star rating because
He
of
got a
how
4.
great that
He got a
match was.
4.25.
And we all said because of the story involved, that's why that match was so good. And we felt Meltzer kind of fucked it because there was a lot more emotion in that match than the other one. So I'm saying that Cena Reigns was better because of the build for that, dude.
Okay,
that
so-
build was phenomenal. Same with Dream and Black.
So you don't think the bill for Rollins and Cena with both titles on the line? For
No
SummerSlam was
way
not-
is it that
was not great.
Nope. No, that build is nowhere near the build Reigns and Cena had.
Listen, I think Seth is good. I think Seth, I would have argued that he's overrated. Honestly, I could have made a very strong argument for Seth Rollins being overrated.
If I didn't do my
Right.
warrior take to get your warrior take, I would
Right, and if I didn't
Seth
pick
Rollins.
Jarrett because I just felt like he needed to get buried a little. No, but seriously, I could make a strong argument for Seth being very overrated. He can't talk either.
No.
You can't tell me he can cut promos.
He's only got one style of.
I will say this.
one style of like.
I would say when you go to his promos, and that's because I watched Seth want to see with Tyler Black compared to where he was.
I was
then
on
and
shows
there.
with him as Tyler Black. I'm telling you, Seth can't talk. I've known him for fuck. We started around the same time. I've been on a million shows with him. He's never been a talker. That's not his strong point. He's good in the ring, but he has to have the right opponent. He has to have an opponent that works like today's modern style. Otherwise, you put him in a match with a guy like Sting, and he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Okay, and to
Sting
me,
wasn't that bad.
yes, it was. And I watched that match cringing because he didn't know how to work with Sting. And this is another sign that I mentioned with Shinsuke. I go, if you're supposed to be this good of an in-ring worker, you better know how to work with everybody. Don't tell me this guy's so fucking good, and then you put him in there with a guy who works a different style, and you don't know what to do. You're still trying to do your same shit, and this guy can't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, Roman does a great job of working with people with different styles.
Yes, he does. Roman's always solid.
Yeah.
Where Seth is not always solid. He's very inconsistent. And I'm telling you now, I can make a strong argument for Seth Rollins being overrated.
Dude, Bray Wyatt got his first "This is awesome" chant in years when he faced Roman Reigns on Monday Night Raw.
Well, that's because they Bray had
Because
the
it
advantage.
was a great match.
Go back and look at that rating. It was a 2.5.
I don't. Okay, hold on.
That's not a rant. That's not a rant.
But you're wrong.
When I
Go back. I want you to
listen to me.
look
Stop.
up that.
Shut up.
Look
Shut
up
up.
the rating on that match.
Shut
Hold
up.
on, calm down.
When we just mentioned the ratings for Black and Dream, we said Meltzer was stupid for it. I mentioned the 5-star rating he gave them, and we said he should have done it here as well. So the mentioning of the ratings was to once again mock Dave Meltzer for not, and again, look, dude, it's personal opinion, but we've always said Meltzer falls short more often than not with his ratings. So the fact that you just try to pull a rating out of it
It
to
wasn't
make
a Meltzer rating,
a
actually.
2 point, then who's 2.5?
That was
it?
Rolling Stone.
Oh, even
The
what?
authority on wrestling. No, listen.
Give me that fucking bell, you dumbass. It's not a rant, you dumb fuck.
You got another one.
Well, anyways, I just think Roman Reigns has been more consistent. I think Roman Reigns has a better match than Seth in WWE. It's undoubtable. I don't think you could make an argument that Seth has had better matches than him. He hasn't. He just hasn't, dude. Like, it's just...
Once again, this is wrestling. It's all subjective.
Sure, it's all subjective, but I
When
mean,
Smitty's wrong, he goes back to that argument.
No, I'm just about as wrong. I'm just about as wrong. If
Roman
I'm wrong,
Reigns is the modern day Ultimate Warrior. It's been cool to say, oh, this guy can't wrestle or something, but he can.
No, but the difference between Warrior and Roman is Warrior was actually over at one point completely.
I mean, you can make
And
an
so
argument.
is Reigns.
Reigns is over. I mean,
When he pulls like a Ric
Reigns was
Flair.
over, and then they started shoving him down our throats, and he's not over with us. He's still fucking over.
And even so, he's still over. Yeah, because, dude, he's got the Cena treatment. Every match he goes at, you don't hear a single fucking cheer for another wrestler he's with. They don't boo him. They say, let's go, Roman. Roman sucks. He's over either as they hate him or they like him. And they still buy tickets to see him either lose or to see him win. Roman Reigns is, like I said, very underrated because so many people don't give him the credit he deserves,
That's
including you.
You put Cena in the underrated category.
No, Cena can't be underrated.
Cena
Can't be underrated if you always go over.
Yes, you can.
But,
Yes,
but,
you can,
hold on,
because-
but you
because
disagree with him about with the Roman argument. It's like, if you won't agree with the Cena argument,
No,
you're full of shit, Z.
No, he just said
I think Cena's underrated, and it brings me to my underrated pick, which is Goldberg.
How am I full of shit? How did I
Goldberg
get
won
involved
all
in
the
that?
time, and yet is still underrated. And the reason why is the same thing. People talk about him being sloppy and fucking all this shit in the ring. He's not, dude. Dude, the dude did things in the ring, and you can't even be like, oh, he only had 2 moves. No, he fucking did not. He has fucking 50,000 versions of a press slam, and they are all sweet. He drops dudes into his spear from a press slam.
Fanboy Chris coming out.
He also he's also the fucking first guy I ever seen in wrestling to really apply MMA holds and shit. People forget that. He would just whip into some crazy submission out of fucking nowhere. Listen, I'm not saying he was super crisp because he wasn't, and he could be sloppy at times because he was still really
ended
green.
Bret Hart's career.
That shit happens, dude. I'm
Yeah,
tired.
man.
See, that's another one of those dumb things. Like that shit fucking happens. Anyways. So, he did all kinds of fucking really cool shit, and I think he gets. There's never been an athlete I've seen with more intensity in the ring than
also-
Goldberg ever.
Also,
Let me take a
Ken
pause real
Shamrock
quick.
did that too.
Let me take a pause real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to us live and you want to call in and talk about your overrated or underrated, please feel free to call in. Our phone number here is 248-579-5295. We'll take your call, we'll talk to you, and we'll discuss, and you can explain why you feel someone is overrated or underrated. Again, have a different take on something that we've already talked about. If something we already talked about, try not to call in with that. But if you feel someone is overrated or underrated,
That
we
we
haven't
have not
spoke to them.
mentioned.
Yeah, that we have not mentioned. Feel free to call in. Again, that phone number is 248-579-5295. Orlando, please continue.
Well, I was just saying the same thing kind of applies to Goldberg. I think Goldberg, I don't think he's ever had a lot of really classic matches, unfortunately, because that just wasn't how he was booked. But I still think Goldberg could have been really fucking sweet in the ring. I just think he had so many intangibles that guys, it's one of those things again where it's like a Braun Strowman, like you're not going to see that guy again. Like that was a one time, that the way he spears somebody, because it's a legit spear, it's the coolest spear in the world. It looks way better than Roman Reigns. It looks, the only other,
Charlotte Spear looks better than Roman Reigns.
well, I don't give a fuck. I'm just saying, stop, chill out with the Roman Reigns hate. But I'm just saying, Goldberg was a once in a lifetime athlete who did things that today no one can do, that nobody does do, that nobody will be able to do with that intensity, with that type of movement. You just won't see that again. So I think he's extremely underrated in that regard. I don't care that he never had classic matches. He had some good ones. He had some with DDP and Kurt Hennig that I thought were pretty good. But he's never really. I thought those matches with Lesnar he had last year, the one at Mania, was good. It was short, but it was good.
Where he took the 6 suplexes, the most bumps he's ever taken.
Yes,
in
and
a match.
it was a good match.
I'm not arguing it. I agree with you.
Yeah, it was good for what it was. Again, he's not going to be the guy that works like Flair and works an hour, but for what he was, that's a once in a lifetime fucking dude. You're not going to see that again, ever. So that said, I also have one more overrated for you.
The whole Goldberg thing was like, you could have. I looked at Ken Shamrock the same way I looked at Bill Goldberg to a certain degree. When you said first guy you see using MMA locks on somebody, Shamrock did it before Goldberg showed up.
I gotta remember the time frame there, but maybe. But Shamrock was really only using the ankle lock and that one takeover armbar, whereas Goldberg would. I'm thinking of a very specific leg sweep thing that he would do, and he did a lot of. And no offense to Shamrock, Shamrock, even
Oh,
though
he was
his
an
gimmick was that he
overrated
was
guy.
intense, Goldberg moved more intense, and his movements when he hit people looked like he was really fucking smashing dudes. And Ken Shamrock, who I thought was good for that time period, was never on the same level as Goldberg.
Well, that's part of it because they never booked Shamrock like that.
Yeah, he won the King of the Ring, didn't he? Or did he
No.
lose?
He
He lost it to The Rock, right?
Lost to The Rock.
Okay. Either way, like, I mean, he was okay, but he was never going to be that guy. He just didn't have that thing about it.
And like, when I say literally, when I see my mirror comparison to Goldberg and WCW and Monday Night Wars was Ken Shamrock with better booking.
You're out of your mind. Goldberg was as hot as anybody's ever been in wrestling.
Not via his booking.
I don't give a fuck what it's via. Dude, every audience in the world was losing their these same fans that go today and bury Bill Goldberg are the same fans that were yelling out his fucking name to smash somebody in '98.
Oh, they were converting from WWE to WCW because of him.
Yeah. Like he was post NWO, the only thing that post NWO, the last really good thing that WCW did. So, anyways, super underrated.
But part of that
and he was the guy.
But part of that was also because he was the only guy that was a former WWE guy that were building at the time.
Well, that's not true too. I've always hated that argument too because you could talk about DDP and you could talk about guys that WWE stole that made from WCW. Like Luger was an NWA WCW guy, then came to WWE. You know, all these guys that they talk came over.
When you brought up DDP, you didn't hear about DDP till after Foley actually
He
won
was
the
the
title.
first person that went over on the NWO after that became a thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of dudes from just WCW. And a lot of guys that made their start in WCW that then get brought in. So I've always hated that argument. That's a different fucking thing for a different day.
I'm gonna ask you a question though. Give me 5 guys post the turnaround when Foley won the title on Raw.
Post that turn. What time is that? 98. So you got a year and a half left of WCW. Come on. If you want to talk really WCW, I mean, you got all kinds of fucking dudes you can mention. You can mention the Steiners who started in WCW. You can mention Luger, like I already said. You can mention Sting. You can mention DDP. You can mention Goldberg, Vader. How many guys do I have to fucking name before you go, okay, this argument might not actually work out?
I said no. Like I'm talking about Monday Night Wars. We're talking Monday Night Wars here.
Why? Why is it just Monday Night Wars?
Oh, we're talking in general. Lots of guys come from WCW and went to WWE. Like Vader actually started off with the Mastodon gimmick, whatever.
Sure, and he was WCW champion.
He's the reason Foley lost the air.
Anyways, okay.
The comment that we got on Twitter, underrated William Regal.
I agree with
Agreed.
Agreed.
I think Regal was, yeah. I don't think anyone on this table is going to argue it.
He was solid.
But Regal's one of the guys that kind of killed his own push to a certain degree too.
What do you mean?
I was reading some stuff and watching stuff on Watch Mojo on What Culture Wrestling, and it was talking about how Regal's probably one of the greatest technical wrestlers. But just some of the backstage politics is what he ended up killing his own push those ways.
Well, actually, I remember it was around 07 or something when they brought back the King of the Ring. They brought it back specifically for him to win, and they're supposed to give him like a main event run. And I think he got busted for drugs or something.
I was going to say drugs and alcohol.
Yeah,
Basically
so-
what
It was
killed
alcohol
all of
from what
it.
I
Which
was-
sucked because it would have been nice, especially in that era when they were kind of pushing the old mid-carders into the main.
Yep.
He would have fit right in, and it would have been believable because he is a technical guy. He also had the real fighting background. Plus, he can talk really well. He's a great character. So he could have done more. So, yeah, I would say, yeah, he is underrated.
So I made this post in a couple of the wrestling groups that we're in, and I asked who people felt were overrated and underrated. And this one came up quite a bit, and it's going to spark a commentary here.
Can't wait.
And originally I thought this was a troll because the first thing they said was overrated was Ric Flair. And I immediately commented and I was like, Flair overrated, please explain. And the person said, and these are his comments post that, all he could do was talk and cheat, didn't have any wrestling ability whatsoever. Flair could not wrestle. He goes, Flair would slap, shout, woo.
Smitty, is this person related to you?
And get
Bullshit, because I actually think Ric Flair's the greatest heel of all time.
and get the figure 4 in. That's all he ever did. I'm not saying he's the worst person to ever grace the squared circle. I'm saying he was well overrated as a wrestler, but for entertainment value, he's in the top 3 for me.
So that's a really weird comment.
How long have you been? No, I'm asking, how long have you been retarded? I'm gonna say that right now.
I've never been retarded.
No, whoever posted that, like, how long you been retarded?
Yeah, that's a really bad statement. And you're saying that came up a lot, which which I assume a lot of wrestling fans came and saw older Flair, which sucks because even me as a fan, when I was watching wrestling in the 90s, I was like, Flair's there. He's whatever. It's Flair.
Early Flair, though.
You know, but when I go back and when I became a pro wrestler, you realize that to the other wrestlers, Flair is God. You know what I mean? Like, he is a Mount Rushmore talent that you could argue should be on a Mount Rushmore. I would put him higher than Undertaker for sure. Another guy with a 30-year run. He was the fucking guy in multiple companies.
About a 40-year run,
Plus,
actually.
Flair could work with anybody. He could make random jabroni A look like a credible threat.
Yeah.
He was a beatable champion, but he had the swagger. He's one of the best talkers in the history of the business. One of the best characters in the history of the business. He could work with anybody. He worked an hour every single fucking night. Some of my favorite matches are Flair matches. And if you don't think they're good matches, I just assume that you hate wrestling. Like, you know, the him and Dusty, the him and Steamboats, the fucking...
Him and Sting.
Him and Sting.
Steamboat. Oh my god!
Right, him
some
and
of
Sting.
those matches.
Was it him and Savage too?
Yep.
Savage at
Him and
WrestleMania?
Savage. There's
Was it
also
WrestleMania 10?
him and
Not
Terry
10,
Funk. It's like the first real hardcore match on a mainstream level. Flair is the fucking man. I don't. If you're saying
before
that,
TV, he used to go to different territories and make the other champions look credible.
yes, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, so if you don't like Flair, you probably just haven't done your history on wrestling. You probably seen Flair, old Flair, and just been like, oh, he's whatever, he's Flair, he's there.
Or you're retarded.
He woos a lot and he chops, you know. But there's a lot more to Flair than that. So
Yeah.
Well, you can get a good understanding of Flair. I mean, I rewatched the 30 for 30 of Ric Flair a couple weeks ago, and I sat down. My girl watched it because I got her into wrestling within the last year or two, and she was like, she knew of Ric Flair, but she didn't really know his legacy in that, and she was blown away. She was like, I had no idea, and that is a perfect testament to Ric Flair. I mean, he's top, definitely Mount Rushmore, definitely.
Someone said underrated Brian Pillman.
okay,
Yeah, I can see that.
okay.
ZY.
Pillman was good in the ring. He was one of the first high flyers to be
Mainstream.
Yeah.
In America, yeah.
Yeah, I was
for
gonna
sure.
say, yeah.
He's one of the pioneers of that in America.
And I mean, he was the loose cannon Brian Pillman. Like, there will never, they try, I see it in what they try and do with Dean Ambrose, but no
Dean
one,
Ambrose is the silly version.
yeah, I was gonna say there's no way to exact replicate
PG
Brian
version.
Pillman, and there never will be. I don't know. I totally agree that he is one of the most underrated personalities and workers in the business,
Yeah.
or when he was in the business.
It sucks too because when he became loose cannon, it was right around when people remember when he comes to WWE and he got in that bad car wreck and he could barely move his fucking foot.
Yep.
He's still working. But prior to that, the matches he was having like Jushin Liger and stuff, those are very innovative for the time. Like that stuff
absolutely.
was not seen on American wrestling. So he was definitely a pioneer in the ring. Again, very underrated in that regard because people forget that. Then he had the great tag team with Austin. That's another underrated tag team.
Hollywood Blondes.
Hollywood Blondes was great for the time period. And then, of course, the loose cannon character, which was awesome.
His stuff he did with the Heart Foundation before he ended up joining up with him.
Well,
that
that's
was
right
pretty
after his
good.
car wreck, and he
Yeah.
was.
After the car wreck, he wasn't quite the same, but he's still crazy, and you always believed he was crazy.
Another overrated comment, the 2004 Royal Rumble winner, vacant. They say vacant supremely.
I
Chris
hate-
Benoit, someone said, is very overrated.
They need to go hang out with some weights.
How long have they retired? How long have they been retired?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I will say
Benoit was one of. Okay, here's the thing: if Chris Benoit doesn't murder his family, that never happens. He's A, still working today, or B, in the Hall of Fame.
100%.
100%.
100% to that, and I will say as a worker when that happened. First off, Chris Benoit was my biggest influence in wrestling. Was my personal biggest influence.
My favorite wrestler, going
Yeah.
hands down.
Yeah, he was my favorite wrestler until he murdered his family. Again,
Right.
I have a hard time even watching his matches now because it's like this dude murdered his family.
Right.
So I don't even go back and watch a lot of his stuff anymore. But I will tell you, prior to him murdering his family, we had a saying at the wrestling school about hard work and about motivation. Like if you're feeling lazy and you don't want to go to the gym, you ask yourself, what would Chris Benoit do? which is ironic now.
I agree. Oh,
But
man.
it's ironic now, but we would say that in terms of like, okay, because that motherfucker gets up and goes to the gym. Get your ass to the gym.
WWCBD.
So like, I would say outside of The Undertaker, the most respected dude in all of wrestling was Chris Benoit. which is really crazy that he then kills himself, and you can't say that phrase. What would Chris Benoit do anymore?
Well, you kill
Fuck, you can say that phrase.
You can't. We're on.
got a whole
breaking down
meaning
the goddamn.
behind
Yeah, it just means a whole different thing. But it is crazy to see how that's. So I would say probably underrated in many regards. Also underrated talker. People think that he couldn't talk. Again, he's not The Rock. He's not Austin. He's not like an over the top character, but he could talk just fine. Anytime I've ever heard Chris Benoit talk, I thought it was fine. I've never been like, oh, he stumbles over his word. No,
he was very intense at times, but I believed
No,
it.
Yeah, exactly.
he was adept. Because, like, honestly, one of the things that still keep me in the wrestling today is the feud between Guerrero and Benoit in ECW. Those were some of the best matches I've seen in my life.
Well, even Benoit and Malenko was good. I mean, that whole little cruiserweight division they had going on was really good.
My favorite match ever is Benoit and Angle at the 03 Rumble. I just think that is the perfect wrestling match. You cannot wrestle a better match than that.
those two every time.
And one of the things that people don't realize about Benoit is
Benoit putting him
is
beside his
that
crotch.
he didn't call a lot in the back. So what you're seeing is him calling that shit on the fly, which is crazy to me. Like the thing that those spots and stuff that he's calling is just, to him that's routine. He just calls that shit with people. Like, again, there's an art form to being able to call it in the ring, and usually it's not as pretty as when Chris Benoit did it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's
Plus
not a
another
sloppy
guy
when
that's
Cena
super
does it.
intense. They said it all the time on commentary, but every time he moved, it meant something. But again, hard to watch now because
there's
he
never lost movement in his matches.
right.
Final one for an overrated category. Someone says Chris Jericho.
He's the fucking GOAT.
Hey, suck somebody's asshole, you dumb wad.
Wait
Is
a
that
minute.
underrated or overrated?
Overrated.
Overrated?
Listen, I can make that argument. I can make that argument too, and I'll tell you why.
You can suck somebody's asshole.
Hold on, calm down. If Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit don't die, okay, Chris Jericho doesn't get as much love as he gets today. He gets as much love because a lot of the really, really good in-ring workers of that period died. They're not here to compare to. Chris Jericho has had this last run was amazing. I thought we've said it a million times was a great fucking run. The stuff in Japan he just did was really fucking good. Jericho was really good. Really, really good. And he could talk really well. He's great. But when people start talking about him top 10 and shit, I'm like, no. Okay. So he's my Undertaker. He's the guy that people say and talk about him being top 10 and all.
Right,
He's not there.
time.
Jericho's great and has been consistently great and has performed well. I just don't think he's as good as people have made him out to be. His in-ring matches are never as good as Michael's or Benoit's or Guerrero's. His promo skills are good, but they're not as good as The Rock's or Austin. He's that next level right underneath them,
Which
which is still really fucking good.
yeah, like they had said that him and Omega was the best match he's had since him and Jericho.
Okay, WrestleMania 19. I was about to,
Wait, since him and who?
I mean, since Jericho
Michaels.
and Michaels, yeah,
and not WrestleMania 19.
yeah, like and that's because I
We're
would
allowed
agree.
to do a lot of the same things in those matches, though, because now you can't. I
Right.
mean, WWE style, you can't, but when you have the freedom in New Japan, you have a better match. I mean,
Oh yeah, I will fully agree that Jericho is a lot more entertainment than wrestling substance. He doesn't have bad matches. I'm not saying he has bad matches, but I'm saying it's not the level of difference that it is for The Rock, where it's level of entertainment, mic talk versus what you can do in the ring. Because Jericho still has really, really, really good matches.
Chris Jericho
Believe it or
is
not,
the
though-
master of having moments. Whether he's in the ring wrestling or he's on the mic or whatever, he just naturally knows what to do to draw the most out of the crowd as possible.
Whether it's a
and I think
pop
that
or
is
heat.
his biggest strength. As far as being overrated, I mean, I can see where the argument comes from, but to me, I don't feel like you can be in this business and be relevant for 25 years and be overrated.
Smitty.
Well, like I say, on Z's point, it's like he does what he has to do to get either the best pop or where he's playing from a heel or face, for sure. Yes, I think lots of Jericho's notoriety comes from some of the stuff he did with guys like Jericho and Benoit.
Wait, you did the same thing.
Same
I
thing
did.
as Mikey did.
Yeah, same
Jericho with Jericho. What are you guys talking about? Was there an Undertaker match that?
Jericho's lots of Jericho's notoriety.
Well,
I
since
meant
you
with
brought it up.
Jericho specifically.
Lots of Jericho's notoriety originally came from the stuff he did with guys like Benoit and Malenko
Right.
and Mysterio when he was in WCW and the Cruiserweights. But when he came to WWE, he proved 100% that he knew how to talk, because his debut was a War of words with The Rock.
Yeah, I'm not arguing. I said,
But-
But my issue
let
with
me
Jericho.
finish.
Okay, go ahead.
He's proved
How's
over
it
the
feel?
years that he's evolved, he's come to his own, and done everything he can to be one of the best guys in the industry right now.
Sure, I would say, but prior to this last run, he wasn't one of the best guys. I thought those last couple runs he's had been kind of lackluster. He had matches with AJ at Mania, which was underwhelming. He had a couple matches with AJ, which were all kind of underwhelming. When you think Jericho and AJ, you thought it was going to be better.
But
I'll give
honestly,
you that.
And I think those last couple runs prior, those last couple years, he's there. He's still good, but it wasn't anything special until this last run where him and Owens were just on fire.
do you feel like the stuff he did with AJ was organic or no?
I don't give a shit if he's going to be that good. I mean, I'm just saying I think he's been a little overrated. Just a little bit. Again, I still think he's my Undertaker. I think he's really good still. I think he does everything well. I don't see when people talk like, oh, he's top 10 or is he was in the go. He's not. He's not.
I said that 'cause it's on his
Only reason I put him in the GOAT category is at this point in my life, I've watched so much more wrestling and seen what he's done throughout the world.
So have I, and I've never listen. I have DVDs with Jericho in Japan before he was ever even in WCW. Listen, I have all kinds of old random shit from just being a tape collector when I was a fan, and all kinds of weird
Shit, me
shit.
too.
But I'm telling you, Jericho's stuff, as good as it is, was never as good as the Guerreros and the Benoits
And the Malenkos,
And it was never there in the ring as good as that. It was still good. It just wasn't as good as that.
But
Okay?
my point is like, okay, I agree with you. Like, he's never going to be as good as those guys, but he learned from working with those guys to where now he is that guy.
I don't.
Can I ask a question, Smitty? If you are agreeing that he's never going to be as good as those guys, how can you argue and say that he's not overrated? Or the argument that I just had where I say he's more entertainment than substance in the ring.
I'm saying he's not overrated because he's one of those guys who's like, well, like people say about Triple H, he's a student of the game. He's become better over the years. And the more I see him, the more I respect him.
All right, Nick, what do you feel about Jericho?
Who? I definitely agree with your guys' point. I don't think he's top 10. He's definitely not top 5. I give him top 20. You know, he's done a lot of different things in a lot of different corners of the world.
I mean, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Said that already.
But I don't necessarily know. I don't know if he was ever like the face of any one of those companies. Maybe for like a hot second.
Come on, man. Raw was Jericho.
First ever
That debut, that Chris Jericho debut when, you know, he did his promo with The Rock. I mean, I remember sitting there with a couple of my friends and we just shit because at the time there was no internet or anything like that. I had no idea he was coming. I was just like, oh my God, like this is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I mean, you guys have all made some pretty valid points. It's kind of hard to argue that, you know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate Nick. Thank you for being on the show, brother.
Yeah, man, anytime.
How do we find you on the medias that are social?
You can find me on Twitter at The Power Hand.
Yeah.
Look me up on Facebook, and you can listen to me live on Q Country 107 in Port Huron.
Cusack?
QSAC.
Dubsack?
It's the WSAC.
Okay, got it.
So the Power Hand, just ThePowerHand.
All one word.
Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you're following us on our social media as well. Just search BDRcast. You'll find our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, our Periscope, our Snapchat.
Tumblr.
You guys, soon.
Are we doing Tumblr?
You can, no.
I was in my phone for like 2 seconds.
I accidentally muted Chris.
I didn't mean to open up that can.
So you find us on all that. Make sure you go check out our pro wrestling tees, prowrestlingtees.com/BDRcast. Within the next day or two, it's already submitted. So we'll have 2 new shirts up on our BDR cast. If you're a hockey fan and a wrestling fan, you're going to enjoy these shirts. Wait for them to be posted, but when they get posted, they're going to be really good. So check it out, prowrestlingtees.com/BDRcast. Make sure you guys have us subscribed on your iTunes, your Google Play podcast. If you want to follow us on SoundCloud, remember, just search Breaking Down the Ring. Follow our YouTube, Breaking Down the Ring. The old episodes, the full shows are going up as we speak. I have one being uploaded right now. Just follow us on everything that you can possibly follow us, because you don't want to miss a second of us at all, because we are the Ring Crew.
Your champion Z.
Smitey.
Orlando.
Me, the almighty one. And thank you again so much to Nick for showing up. We appreciate it.
Yes,
Can't wait to
sir.
have you back again. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Breaking Down the Ring. We thank you so much again, and we are out.